Welcome back. Safety car lights are still ablaze, as you can see, as the cleanup operation goes on. The 30 car, the HMV Status GP machine, the Lola Judd BMW B1280, doesn't really look like it looked like at the start of today, I've got to tell you. A very, very heavy impact, and Tony Burgess out of the car, helmet off, bodes well for the Canadian star of the ALMS. Johnny Oldham took himself a trip earlier in the day, and the car was fighting back up through the order. Yes, Johnny Oldham getting a late call for that vehicle. But yes, late in the night we are now. 23 minutes, sorry, 12 hours, 23 minutes remaining on the countdown. It is 02:36 in the morning, and I can tell you the Ferris wheel is still going. The funfair is still pumping out beat music, and yes, almost dancing to a rhythm are the lights on the safety car as we speak, and we are waiting for those lights to be extinguished so we can go racing again. We've had a bit too much of this year, Nev.
Yeah, we are 20 minutes away, incidentally, from the first 12 hours. So if you think that was good, we've got another 12 hours to go.
It's quite remarkable, isn't it? I always find that the first 5 hours kind of skip away, and then you kind of go into slow motion. Night time, I think, passes, but the problem is when you get dawn, and then you look at your watch and you've got 8 hours to go. That's always a bit scary. And indeed, well, it comes earlier than that, doesn't it? Well, dawn around 05:30, something like that, just about. So that leaves us with 9.5 hours before the race is actually concluded. Remarkable.
Yeah, it's interesting that in this particular race there has not been a situation at any time where the excitement has eased up, because for various reasons, as we know, we've had interruptions with pace cars and everything else that's all going on. We've had the problems which the weather all on its own caused, and we now actually know now why the Toyotas were quicker, and it was a nice clear indication that the conditions were favouring them at the time. The question is now, if there's any more rain, will it favour them again?
Well, we were told that they were on a different tyre.
Yep.
And the conditions were, well, conditions were up and down, but I think we had those conditions again a while after that, after the start.
Yep.
But they weren't able to replicate that. Those first 2 laps for the Toyotas were fantastic, and they were really, really strong. However, we were probably hoping that was going to be a race-long battle. As we near the halfway mark, we now know that Audi has definitely got the upper hand in terms of pace, but they've had problems. One car is the number 1 car actually of the Andrea Leuter.
It's now got up to 10th place.
It's up to 10th.
Yeah.
They were going for their third outright victory, and are arguably probably one of the, if not the fastest grouping within Audi, but they've had problems.
Hello, and that looks like a fire, and the marshal's in no hurry to extinguish it at all.
For tea?
It's getting more and more expensive as we look at it, and I hope there's nobody in. I hope there is nobody on board. That's a minor explosion. Why these guys aren't there with their extinguishers, goodness only knows. But
Marino Franchitti actually, obviously, is fond of porridge, and that car's made a bit of a porridge of its cooling department, I would say.
Well, I don't know whether its own onboard fire extinguishers have just gone off or what, but or maybe not, maybe even not. Let's have a look.
That could have been.
It could have been anything.
Just a bit of heat soak or something.
It could have been.
He's trying to keep the engine running.
Yeah.
It's clearly not concerned enough to exit, and clearly the
red light's still on,
are aware as well. Yeah. There we are. Oh, it's all drama here. You join us at a crucial part of the race, of course, as we approach the halfway mark. In a little while, we're going to be joined by Chris Parsons, who knows all about the history of this place. In fact, if you've got any questions for Chris, or indeed Neville, or myself, then please feel free to share them with us on Twitter. Carlton Kirby, CarltonKirby. Damien Faulkner's still got 17 minutes of his time left with us before he goes and has a kip. Yeah, any special requests? I know it was a burger earlier on. He's still hungry?
He wants to sing, I'm told.
Well, he didn't bring me anything.
No, I know. I went.
He offered you something.
I went to Audi
in a
Hospitality.
cup.
And they offered me, it was Irish stew, which they make up at night, but more on that in a little while. We're racing again, gentlemen. Here we are, and the one car, well, this is played into its hands. Slight compression of the field, and it is running in 10th place, having been as low as 23rd. This is a great fight back. Lotterer, Fassler and Trullier. This was supposed to be the car that was going to win here, but it's the old boys. And with long of tooth and long of experience as well. Alain McNish, Tom Christensen vehicle number 2, which is actually leading, but the one car is battling back, and don't count them out. Still 12 hours to go, and everyone has to ride their ill fortune. Ollie Jarvis is in the 3 car, running in 4th place behind the 2 Toyotas of Lapierre and Anthony Davidson. They are positions 2 and 3 as we speak, but a lap behind Alain McNish in the Audi number 2 car. And I'm just wondering where they are indeed on course, and that looks like he's going to try and unlap himself here right now. There you go. It's a long old haul back, boys.
Yeah, it's never ideal, is it? You know, they just have nothing to lose now, so they can just be as aggressive as they may. I think we're going around.
Oh, we're going around there.
Yeah.
Somebody who actually is driving.
And is that all 3
down the grass?
I think the Audis are together on track, actually. They were trying to help out, I think, but just hasn't quite got the pace at the moment. 11 laps in arrears.
That was just out of Arnage, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's a fantastic view, isn't it? These pen cams providing such detailed photography, as you can see. Goodness me, the pace into these curves is phenomenal.
Yeah, that into Indianapolis, where it's banked, really, it's banked on the right and it's heavily banked on the left, so they can carry monster speeds.
That is one of the Toyotas just ahead of the Audi number 1, as we see right now. The Toyotas are sitting, 12 laps clear of this number 1 car. It's on 164 laps completed. And the lead Toyota has completed 174, so yes, 10 laps between them. 10. There we go. That's what it's like for much of the time. You have to be absolutely on it, though, when you are called to station. You can't afford to kind of over-relax or be off your guard, despite what they look like.
Well, everything is sort of military prepared. These teams do many exercises, and they do. They actually do. They practice 24 hours, don't they? Simulations.
That is Alain McNish, incidentally, trying to get another lap on the Toyota in front of him, and he's on an absolute mission. Alain McNish never takes any prisoners. This is on board with the 1 car of Lotterer. I think we're looking at McNish, who is chasing the Toyota. It's no, in fact, this is on a different part of the track here. That's just tracing his own teammate. There is the 1 car, and I'm just trying to catch who it is in front of him at the moment.
Yeah, Andre Lotterer has just passed the Toyota, as we saw there coming into Porsche curves, and he's just about to pull the move on. Oh, I didn't even see who that was.
I've got a feeling that is the 3 Audi of Ollie Jarvis, who's letting him go because he's on an absolute flyer making up ground.
He's trying to get his lap back, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly. But he's got a long way to go. Goodness me, look at this.
That's a fantastic camera angle.
It really is.
It's like trains going by here. In fact, if you could get close enough, you'd feel the body shock that these guys, they produce a huge sound wave. Let's have a look.
This was the Audi running wide at Arnage earlier, and then the Audi goes past, and I think the Toyota also.
Yeah.
Yes, we saw that. We weren't sure who it was that had run wide.
But,
he's gathered that back together again, and all is well.
And the Audi's got a unique, because it's diesel and it's low revving, it's very, 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 very silent. So if you hear it going by at speed, it's like a low-flying plane without the jet engine.
Ollie Jarvis, incidentally, is 2 laps, is a solitary lap, I should say, down on the 2 Toyotas who are on the same lap, 175. A lap further ahead is Alan McNish as we speak. And this is Ollie Jarvis attempting to unlap himself as regards these Toyotas. And he's up the inside of the 7 car. Oh, goodness me. The speeds they're carrying at the moment around here are approaching 300 kilometers an hour. That's 200 miles an hour. And when you're busy battling, you can see just a brief lift, and the gap just widens almost instantaneously. Listen to the squealing as well of the energy retrieval system here.
Yeah, that was slightly naughty by the Toyota there, because Ollie had 2 wheels on the grass there.
He just decided that he wasn't going by, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is where the Audi is really, really strong, but of course it's one of these energy release zones, isn't it?
Here we go. Hits the 120 kilometers an hour barrier and goes by, and then you hear the squeal as it retrieves more energy into the curves, back up to speed, and then will deliver the boost as is required. Well, that's a lap got back on Davidson, Anthony Davidson in the 8 car, or was it indeed the 7 car? I think it was the 7 car of Lapierre, so he's beaten past both of them. Amazing. And lights ablaze as they come back to the start-finish straight right now. Goodness me. Fantastic performance.
It was the speed differential between not just passing the Toyota, but the next 2 cars that he lapped, which gave you, I think, if you were watching that, an impression of the difficulty, because he came upon those 2 cars very, very quickly indeed, and he'd got to time it and get it absolutely just right, and he did.
And this is, we're watching Nicolas Lapierre in the number 7 Toyota in for what looks like a scheduled pit stop. They're just cleaning the headlights because they don't have rip-offs, I don't think, or do they, on the headlights?
Not on the headlights, I don't think, but
I think
it looks like they do.
It is a rip-off, yes, there is a rip-off. They have about 4 or 5 rip-offs on the screen and on the lights, and they are loath to use them too much.
I think, but Dave, you're absolutely right.
Because if you use them too much, you get a dirty windscreen.
Yes, exactly. And also, you kind of run out of chances. If you can clean them, then do so. Rather than ripping them off.
Also, it protects the screen more if you have, if you do have a lot of debris hitting the screen, or if someone goes off and shoots some stones up. It's always better to leave the rip-offs on as long as you can see through them, because they're very robust and they're very tough, so they can be cleaned multiple times.
It's the same, incidentally, the kind of plastics that they use are the same as fighter aircraft windscreens. So it's extraordinarily light and extraordinarily tough. So they are very robust and can take cleaning, although not scouring. Leave those at home, Cub Scouts. Once some Cub Scouts came away to my dad, offered to clean his car, and they used a Bruno pad to get rid of the flies. Oh dear, it wasn't good. They still got their 2 bob, but it was a bad job. There we are on board the 3 car right now, and into traffic, and he is on a chase down here. This is a great little duel.
Yeah, you just got a glimpse there as well of the challenge that it is, not only for these prototype drivers, but even for the GT drivers. One Audi went one way, and the other one had to go the other one, was forced to go the other way. You know, and all this is in the dark at fantastic speeds. You see the closing speeds. It really, really is a challenge, and it's a mental challenge. He's gone down around the outside there at Indianapolis. That's brave.
It's a lovely corner in Indianapolis. A lot of drivers say it's actually a pleasure to take because it's so high speed due to its banking. And you really get an impression of it at night, to be honest. These onboard shots, of which are making up most of our production through the night, due to the fact that the trackside cameras have been shut down for the evening, save for on pit row. So I know an awful lot of you love this onboard view. So should we? Oh, I was just about to say, should we have another listen to that energy retrieval system squealing away? But as we do, we almost cut back. That looks like it's not Peter Dunbrack, is it?
certainly one of the Aston drivers, and I think it is.
It looks like Peter
Yeah, I
Dunbrack.
think it's Peter Dunbrack, yeah.
There we are. Peter's plied his trade all over the world. I remember he used to fly in and out of Japan on a regular basis and just sleep, presumably in business class, in and out every week. And yeah, I said to him, why don't you just buy a place in Japan?
No, that's Stefan Mook.
There you go. I wasn't absolutely certain.
He has a similar nose to Peter Dunbrack.
Do you know
I know
what?
that's what you were
That
looking
is
at.
absolutely right. But he didn't quite look as steely-eyed, I've got to say, which was my worry.
Yeah.
Peter Dunbrack has a killer stare. He really does, and
He does.
it very much looks like an assassin.
Speaks well of you.
Bushy-tailed.
Listen, I love Peter Dunbrack. I think he's a fantastic driver, but he won't mind me saying that he does look like a predator. There we are.
He may not even be listening, so we could say what we want. And hope no one tells him.
No.
Nah, he's a great lad. Phenomenal driver and fantastic pedigree. I've known Peter since I raced in Formula Vauxhall Junior with Martin Donnelly when he raced in the senior team.
Gosh, Martin.
He'll tell him.
I'll tell you something else.
Chris Parsons won't tell him.
Yes, Peter Dunbrack famously was the man who got airborne with Mercedes when they came back after a huge hiatus. Was it 50 years? In 2003, they decided to come back after the 1953 disaster. And unfortunately...
I think that was 99.
No, okay. Well,
yeah.
they decided... yes, I think you're absolutely right. It was 99.
Because Mark Webber
Brain
flipped
failure.
twice.
Yes.
And then had the mother of all crashes.
I know, and was lucky enough to actually fall between felled trees. Recently cleared, because he would have been straight into Les Arbres. And as it was, despite all the pirouettes, landed perfectly on the base of the car. And although badly shaken...
And bruised.
Yes, and bruised. Was, he suffered no serious injury. And it was, well, quite frankly, a miracle. And
No broken bones. I recall. No broken bones at all.
Quite remarkable. And so Mercedes decided it was time to shut up shop. They've been here once, terrible disaster, as you well know, in the 1950s. And they thought, well, we're not going to have history repeat itself. And they haven't been back. That is a lovely sound. Unfortunately, it possibly isn't the sound of victory.
Not for the number 770 WeatherTech car this weekend. I don't think they're having a challenging time here at Le Mans. We've seen that car off in the gravel.
Tell you what, they're playing
Twice.
They're playing a very long game. They said that was their intention. And you know, as the attrition rate goes up here, what are they running at the moment? They're running in position 6 and 7 in class. Last time I looked, which wasn't very long ago, it was 10th, I think. But they're up there. The Viper's not having a pleasant time today either. There is the GTE AM classification. AM representing amateur, designed for gentlemen drivers who can, of course, be assisted by those more proficient and possibly younger than themselves. It is the 76 Porsche that's leading this category, and it's a real battle between Porsche and Ferrari. In fact, they're locking out the top 5 positions as we speak. The Aston in the hands of Stuart Hall is just out of it at the moment, running in 6th place after an excursion by Jamie Campbell-Walter into the gravel and beyond, and other problems that they've had along the way.
So a car we haven't seen back out for some considerable time is the Dumas number 70 Chevrolet. He went in, you may recall, a while ago with a few problems, and I think that car, which we thought had an electrical fire, I think it's still actually, they're struggling to rebuild certainly electrics on the car at the moment, so we haven't seen that, and I see it's falling right
I think that might have been, was that not the WeatherTech car with the windscreen out of it?
Yes.
Because I think that was Cooper McNeil that was wheeled into the garage, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and he hasn't been out, I don't think, since.
Is the 97 Aston. It's your driver change about to happen right now. It's the art car. Blue on one side, white on the other, representing day and night, apparently.
Okay, so when does it change colour?
In the morning.
In the morning.
With orange streaks to represent red sky at night, presumably. There we are. Darren Turner and Stefan Booker swapping places. There we are, tidily done. 7th time at Le Mans, as you see. Do you know what? It looks absolutely spectacular, suspended such as that. I love the Sharks vents, cooling vents around the side exhaust there. Absolutely lovely. Good-looking vehicle, no doubt about it. Just starting to think that the Astons, and forgive me for this, but I know it's not de rigueur to say so, just a bit long in the tooth. And I can't do all the vehicle montage or when they're coming towards you on the streets.
There's a V8 and there's a V9.
But I just think they need to find somehow an amendment to the design which kind of moves it on ever so slightly. I know that's not a popular thing to say, but there you go.
To answer everybody's questions, but they're coming in thick and heavy here.
Very little.
There's very little is the answer, Neville. Yeah, absolutely. I think people are just being a little bit more tentative, a little bit more careful with traffic. But if they do get a free lap, then it's mightily fast. So there's very, very little, and the lights are such not on the track, I might add, but on the vehicles themselves.
Yeah, Lotterer is just on 325.
49 car.
There you go.
49 car just exiting right now. 49 running 6th in class at the moment, 7th in fact. The Morgan of in the hands of Plowman at the moment. 35 car is running 8th overall, ahead of the Audi of Lotterer, which had that huge 50-minute break. But I think Plowman's card is marked here by Lotterer, and the Audi will pass by on his way to make it an all-red top to the scoring boards yet again. I think that's the mission.
Yes, I was just saying he did a 325, which is only 2 seconds slower than the current fastest lap, which McNeish had in the 323. And here's another interesting one. Alex Brundle has just done a 341, which is that car's fastest lap.
That's right.
Comes up green. And the next one actually was pretty quick too, 342. But that car obviously is one of those that is also profiting a little bit by the fact that it's cool. He has dropped back a couple of places, hasn't he? But he's not that far away from the
sister car. Martin Plowman.
Yeah, but it says P2, place 2. Now somebody's got that wrong. No, it's class 2, isn't it? That's what it is.
Of course,
it's all right. Yeah. It's just how you write it down.
Just in a few moments' time, a couple of minutes, we'll be taking our commercial break, and then we'll be welcoming Chris Parsons into the hot seat. Steve Farndale says, why do they turn off the cameras at night deep into the track? You can't have everybody working all of the time. Just a cost issue, it has been historically. In fact, having pictures right the way through the night, moving pictures, as you can see right now, by that we mean manned cameras, albeit only at the pit lane, has been a relatively recent thing. I think we used to just have one locked-off security camera looking down the Mulsanne Straight, and that was about it. So yes, you're lucky to have us. Or maybe not. Now there is a proper Le Mans fan. Look at that, in his dressing gown, slippers on. There we are, cup of tea, yes, absolutely. You have to be dedicated to sit up all night and watch it, but you know what, they are. And 60,000 fans can't be wrong, and if you just want to come along and enjoy their company, and indeed the glorious sound, that looks a bit second-hand. There you go.
There's a bottle of Bushmills I wouldn't mind getting my hands on.
You're on the wrong side of the track, mate. I tell you, I think that was the Murphy car supporters, and they've even brought their own ass. And there he is.
Some wonderful pictures. I just saw a picture of a friend of mine, Lee Aubert from Greaves Motorsport there.
Oh,
I'd like to say hello to Lee and Gavin as well, who works there down in Greaves.
There you go. Just after 3 o'clock in the morning, you see the clock ticking down. We have 12 hours to go. It's the halfway point. There is the number 2 Audi that leads the classification at the moment. 2 Toyotas in the P1 class right there. The number 3 Audi is running in 4th place, and I've got to tell you that Lotterer is up to 9th in well, hobbled, I think you might say, a little bit earlier on. 50-minute break for the number 1 car. There's your overall classification. Continues to roll here. P2 is being led by Plowman, incidentally, in the Morgan badge vehicle. And further down the order, the Aston of Makiewicz is the 99 car is leading that class ahead of the Porsche of Dumas and Stefan Mucker's Aston. So Aston's 1 and 3 in the GT Pro. The amateurs being led by Bourret. Just for now, it's Porsche, Ferrari, Ferrari, Porsche, Porsche. Kind of sounds really familiar, does it not? Stuart Hall's Aston Martin is, for the time being, running in 6th place, and then comes the Chevy Corvette.
Andre Lotterer has just done a 3:22.745, which is the new fastest lap of the race on lap 170.
In the dark.
There you go. In the dark. He's on a charge. He's got everything he wants at the moment, except for position. He's climbing. We'll take a break, and we'll keep an eye on it for you. Back in a moment. We have a car in the barrier. The 54 car has taken a trip. Movement inside the vehicle, and none too serious by the looks of things, but the car is at a halt and in the gravel, unfortunately, so not looking too happy. Well, excuse me, there'll be plenty more incidents as we head through the night. We bid a fond farewell to Damien Faulkner, who's been genius. We'll see him again in the morning. He's going to go and get some beauty sleep, and he needs plenty of it. He's a good-looking man. Lotterer then, absolutely nailing a 3:22.7. That is quite remarkable. It's 7:46, and it is the fastest lap that we've had in this 90th running of Le Mans. And it shows, Chris Parsons, that if you are focused, if you are determined, and apart from anything else, if you are quite angry, you can make it count. And right at the end of his fuel run, he'll be stopping fairly shortly, so it was light, but take nothing away from that time. Absolutely remarkable.
Yes, it's so often that they do set the fast times in the night. But the air is cool, and it's therefore more dense, and the cars can they put out slightly more power, and there aren't the distractions around, and they can really go for it. Qualifying is often quicker at night than during the light. So
it's amazing, isn't it, as well? Operating temperatures of the tyres almost near perfect here. I've got to say that despite all the weather warnings and the wet that we had at the top of today, as we are now less than 12 hours to go, but only just 5 minutes less than 12 hours, I might add. It is dry and it is pleasant. Safety car is out because of the stricken 54 car. All 3 safety cars, lights illuminated. It has to be retrieved, and at night it poses more of a danger than perhaps a long sight during the day would have offered up. And so the lights are on, and once again we have a safety car now.
Yeah, this is a repetitive process, I'm afraid, and rightly too. The problem is that if you've got debris on the track and you've got marshals, particularly in the dark, you can't afford to take chances. I don't think it will take long to move that car. Having moved it, then I don't think there's a great deal else that has to be done. But in the meantime, particularly since it's facing in the opposite direction to travel,
I think manageable speed.
It's really got to be brought down to a position where you can move the car without putting anybody else into trouble.
Yeah, but the safety car rules at Le Mans are always more complicated than they are at most other circuits because of the length of the circuit and the time it takes, and people lose out because you get behind the wrong safety car train, or you get split by a safety car, and people are always moaning about it, but anyway, we're under safety car, and presumably
Howie Blank's out, and he's okay, which is the important thing. The car doesn't look too badly damaged, but once he's actually got out and gone behind the barriers, that's it. So we won't be seeing any more of the 54 car, unfortunately. So one Ferrari down, but plenty more still playing the game with Porsche, it seems. Two cars come in. Alan McNish stays on board. He's more than happy. And yes, if that headlight does not illuminate correctly, then he'll be coming back in for a pod change. We'll see. I'm not quite sure what the issue is.
No, it's definitely got a minor problem, hasn't it? Because it flashes and then it's off.
Race director saying taking this safety car opportunity to get rid of some of the excess gravel that is on the track. That car should not be allowed to go if that light is not illuminated. If they do flag it away here, I think there might be a price to pay. We'll see.
Yes, the organisers have been orange and black flagging cars that have not got lights. That car does seem to have a second light, although I don't know. Maybe not.
Well, we'll have a look when we get a front view. I believe at least it's intermittent. I've got one of those at the moment. A burner, I believe they call it. There we are.
I suppose the only thing you could do really would be to take the middle or the two pace cars out and let the field close up before you take the first pace car out. That's the only thing you could do, which could alter things around a little.
How many staff typically work through the night, says Niall Hollyoak? Don't know what you mean, whether you're actually talking, Niall, about the pit crews, etc., or are you talking television? If it's TV, then I can tell you the Germans are tucked up in bed. The Poles are asleep. But the Brits, we're still here.
We're going.
I think what they're referring to is primarily the circuit is marshalled, and it's marshalled at the same level of marshalling.
It has to
throughout the 24 hours. It has to be.
Yes.
And I think there are relief marshals. These guys don't. They're not supposed to do 24 hours. Having had the experience of knowing a few marshals over the years, they do the 24 hours because you can't stop them. But I would have to explain to all of you folks that there would not be any motor racing without marshals, and that many, many drivers have very, very good reason to be very grateful to the marshals on so many occasions for the time that they give.
There's a perfect look at your long tail, incidentally.
Yeah.
An extra 5.5 inches.
Yeah, waiting in the queue.
I spent quite a few years marshalling, and it's a very rewarding thing. In fact, my son is now, he lives in Singapore, and he is training as a marshal for the Singapore Grand Prix.
Fabulous.
And they actually have a school out there for marshals. I
understand we have over 300 here at the track.
Yep. Quite a lot of the guys come out from UK. And they basically, you know, they treated the whole thing sort of as a job, very professionally. Absolutely. Although everybody else says, "Oh, he's on holiday." No, believe you me, this is no busman's holiday. Proper training. Don't forget that nearly all the marshals attend training courses.
Yes.
And they are. Really, they know what they're about, and if you've seen some of these guys wielding yellow flags for not 2 minutes, 20 minutes at a time, they have my admiration.
I always feel sorry for the blue flag man who's telling, especially at Le Mans,
he can never be right.
Exactly, can never be right. I think it's the last flag you pick if you get a choice, to be honest. And believe me, you're going to never be stopped waving it at the beginning because of the intermingling of classes, also close together at the start of this great race. I've been reminded, incidentally, and a quick apology. I think I've referred to this as the 90th running. It is, of course, the 90th anniversary. I do know that it is the 81st Le Mans. Thanks to Phil Pond just for pointing it out. I keep getting mixed up with the centenary or the 100th as well of the Tour de France. It's the 100th Tour de France coming up, incidentally. The centenary was a few years ago, the difference being because of the wars.
There was naturally
has just got to the car.
A question of Le Mans.
They will start to take it away, but doesn't look like it's going to be in the next lap.
There we are. Still question marks as to when the safety car is going to be dispatched.
Yeah, the crane is on its way to the car, but I was about to say that Of course, this race, as we were saying earlier on, was first held in 1923. It wasn't held in 1936 because there was a problem here in France and they didn't hold the race. And then, of course, it was not held between 1940 and the first Le Mans after the war was 1949, which was really, I suppose, the first major victory in an international race of this nature for Ferrari, because Luigi Chinetti and Lord Selsdon won the race in the 2-litre 166 Ferrari. Remarkable performance on their part, and one of the things that always amused me, that's how the Fraser National Le Mans got its name.
Behind you in your safety car. The safety car behind you has car 2, and car 1 is in the train in front.
There we are. It's the argument will rage on as to whether 3 safety cars is the way forward, and whether you shouldn't just collect the field, collect the leader, and then collect the field behind just 1 safety car. What's your view, Chris?
Well, there are all sorts of developments in process that will allow the organisers to monitor the speed of cars behind the pace car, and it could well be that you won't need full course pace cars for that much longer, because they'll be able to monitor the speed of the racing cars and just isolate various parts of the circuit rather than having to stop racing completely.
That's an interesting theory that you put forward there. I know that we have had situations like this before, but that's whatever was that we saw going down the track there?
Well, to be honest, the flare was so bright we couldn't see the safety car lights were still on, but they are still on. So yeah, we're still behind that. We'll be taking a commercial break in just a few moments' time. Right.
Just say for our viewers, when you see the safety car lights go out, that means that safety car will pull off at the next safety car point. So at the moment, we've still got some way to go because the lights are flashing on the safety car.
Yeah, but also we've been told that the clerk of the course has decided, quite rightly, that this is a good opportunity perhaps to do a little bit of spring cleaning and get rid of some of the bits and pieces that are out on the track. So we will be having the safety car for a few more minutes. Probably by the time it comes back, we shall have better news as to whether it's to disappear again. For the moment, it's time to make some more tea. Welcome back. Welcome back to Le Mans. Welcome back to what has been a fascinating battle. And it really is still just as fiercely joined now as it's been from the word go between Audi and Toyota. Still in the lead. Alan McNeish, if you have just joined us for, shall we say, a night that's kept you awake. Well, Alan McNeish in leading car number 2 is just around about a lap ahead of Anthony Davidson with the first of the Toyotas, number 8, and then Lapierre with the second Toyota, number 7. Ollie Jarvis is in 4th place with number 3, Audi. And for those of you who are interested to know what happened to the 3rd one, well, he's now up to 8th. And Lotterer, amazing performance. A 3:22.7 on lap 170, and that was about 10 minutes, quarter of an hour ago, and that's the fastest lap that we've had in this fascinating battle.
A lot of people ask us why they achieve such great speeds at night. Air density is one of the reasons. The engines function an awful lot better. They don't have any kind of overheating issues, don't forget. Look at the grinding going on at the moment. They have a barrier to repair. And as you can see, the brooms around as well. Yes, engines function a lot better. It can be a percentage gain of around about 10% for some vehicles. Very much depends on how they're breathing, how they're allowed to breathe. In fact, air induction units, etc. Right now, we are in repair mode. They were talking about possibly bringing the safety car in. They keep saying lap by lap. I don't know whether it's just to keep drivers on their toes, but there's no chance until that barrier is repaired.
Yes, and I think that's going to take some time to repair.
Yeah.
They've got some work to do there. They've got to cut out sections, probably in two layers of Armco, and reinsert, new sections.
Well, it's concrete footings as well. Let's not forget, if they've actually bent the stanchions which hold those things, that can be an amendment in itself. So let's just hope. It looked like it was quite a benign area where the centre of the barrier had actually bent.
Well, it might look like that, but if you look at the back of the car, you realise that it was actually more than...
well, maybe the word benign was incorrect.
Kiss.
A sweet kiss. When was the last time you used that phrase?
To my wife.
I should think so too.
At least that's what you say on air, Neville.
Good lad. There we are.
That woman for 53 years, I won't hear a word against her.
Yeah, that's quite right too. These boys have been busy today, and it goes on. Oh gosh, do you know what, the 2D there kind of frightened me just a little bit. This looks like gravel smoothing as well, is it? Oh, hello. No, he's changing tool.
He's going to actually...
That's a lifter.
Lift out a section of Armco and put another one back.
There, I'm just telling you, the mic's too far away. Just put it in the email. I was trying sign language, it just didn't work. Didn't work. There we are.
They're going to lift it all out, lift a great big section out. That's the idea behind it. You're quite right, the one stanchion has been actually virtually destroyed, as you
Yes, exactly. See. There we are. And if that's a concrete footing, they've got to relay it. There is some fast drying concrete that will work, and indeed, buried into the gravel, they can actually put pre-formed concrete slabs as well. But hey, we'll see how they manage.
Has anyone actually taken account of how many safety car sessions we've had today?
In terms of minutes, I haven't got a total, to be honest. I know that the first one was over 50 minutes, so it was an awfully long time, and I'm hoping that this one doesn't last a similar kind of length. What it will allow us to do is to have a chat with some of you out there. John Galloway says he's enjoying life here. I think he's on the Eurosport Player. He says he absolutely loves this part of the race. Night time with Neville Hay and Chris Parsons. Well, what could be better, frankly, apart from a bucket of roses with these two guys?
I don't know what we say to that.
I fancy steak and chips myself.
Oh dear.
Actually, what was quite interesting there, we saw a shot from the Audi. Apparently Audi have developed not only a much more advanced wiper system to cope with the curvature on the R18 screen, but also a washer system. Now, how do you get a washer system to work at over 200 miles an hour? That's something.
I guess you have to pay the gentleman quite a lot to sit outside and wipe your screen.
Joking aside, it has actually long been a problem with quick cars that the wipers are insufficient to keep the screen clean. I know that one of the better designs Mercedes have, and they do work. Usually Mercs have the one wiper, which does it all.
Yeah.
On my motorhome, I've got 3. And 2 are excellent, but the one's a waste of space.
We're not going for a cruise around your motorhome.
No, I'm not taking it
either. You can see it is the wee small hours right now. We're approaching 3:30 in the morning. We still have more than 11.5 hours of racing to go. The Fun Fair is still applying a decent trade. The big Ferris wheel, incidentally, was closed earlier on today due to wind as the storms really billowed around us. This is going to take some time. I reckon this is going to be at least another half an hour. So we're going to take that commercial break in just a couple of moments. Don't forget, if you'd like to spare us your thoughts, we have one Twitter user still here. It's me, Carlton Kirby, CarltonKirby, and we'll have a... you can join the likes of Neil Rave on Irving. I don't know whether that strung together is an anagram of something, Neil, but... Anyway, yes, he says, is there more than one tyre manufacturer choice for the teams across the classes? Yes, there is. Significantly, Michelin and Dunlop are the big boys here.
Yes, but there are no restrictions on tyres, and one of the things that teams try and do is keep an eye on what their opposition is doing. Both Audi and Toyota are on Michelin, but different types of Michelin tyre. And I know they have people in the pit lane trying to spot what the other one is doing. So there's a lot more complexity there.
Not identified except by barcode. So yes, commercial secrets aren't kept, and indeed clients are respected. Though, oh gosh, look at this. It's hammer and tongs at the moment, and they need tongs because they've just arc welded or cut that off with a what's the flame I'm trying to find? Acetylene.
Acetylene. Yep.
There we are.
I think the whole question of tyres is one that if we discuss in sort of a little bit more detail, it might be of interest to you, and we will try and do that when we come back to you after the break in a few minutes' time.
Just one question, Danny Thompson, something to think about, food for thought. Any good stories from marshalling days that you'd like to share with us? So we'll have a little ponder about that, and then we'll get back to you in a wee while. But that question coming in from Danny Thompson. Always have trouble with the family name Thompson because there's so many different ways of spelling it, with a P, with an H, with or without, with one or the other. Anyway, we'll address your question, Danny, after this. Welcome back. Danny Thompson wanted to know about marshalling stories. I've got two gentlemen here who've each got some treasured moments.
Well, I'm going to say the one that sticks in my mind goes back to a British Grand Prix.
That's a great start already.
Goes back to a British Grand Prix, and it goes back to that terrible couple, Ralt and Hamilton. After both Tony Ralt and Duncan Hamilton had retired from driving, they used to marshal at the Grand Prix at Silverstone, and they chose to marshal at Beckett's. Beckett's was at that time the slowest corner on the circuit.
Settle yourselves down, by the way.
Fine viewing of what was going on.
Get on with it.
And they always came sort of fitted out for the day. But their method of marshalling had to be seen to be believed. Duncan would actually stand in the middle of the circuit, waving at the cars to slow down if a car had spun off or something like that. And as part of this, Tony was trying to stop him. And it was sort of a little bit like watching Morecambe and Wise. And it was very special.
My marshalling story, well, I probably did it for 3 or 4 years, but the BOAC 1,000 kilometres at Brands Hatch, the famous one when it started in the rain, and there was Barry Smith went off in the Lola on the main straight and had a huge accident.
Yeah. And
the race was neutralised. And Nick Surratt, the clerk of the course, did not like the behaviour of Pedro Rodriguez in the Gulf 917 and hauled him in and gave him an absolute roasting and held him back for quite a long time. I think it was a couple of laps, wasn't it?
Could I break it just for a second? You have to realise that Nick Surratt was about 6'6", and Pedro must have been all of 5'5" in his stocking feet.
Yes, and Pedro lost several laps and won the race by God knows how many laps. He was absolutely incensed, and we had an accident on our corner later on in the race, and we had to stand in the middle of the circuit, Neville, and actually wave, just as the marshals are doing here. We can see on air. You just have to stand there and push, indicate that they must go over the other side of the circuit. But that was a very long day, that one. 1,000 kilometres round Brands Hatch when half of it was wet. That was a long one.
Pedro was a remarkable driver. For those of you who sort of think who they're talking about, Pedro Rodriguez, he was one of two Mexican brothers who started racing in the 50s when they were about 14 and 17. And they went on racing and came to Le Mans when they were quite young. In fact, the younger of the brothers, Ricardo, they didn't want him to race here, and they stopped him racing here the first year when he was about 16. He was about 17 when he came here for the first time. Of the two, many people felt that Ricardo possibly was the quicker. He sadly lost his life practicing for the Mexican Grand Prix in a Lotus 24 in about 1962 when they had decided not to enter Ferrari, and his elder brother didn't come back into racing for a while, but then he did. He drove for BRM. He was superb in the wet, and certainly a very close friend of mine who was an extremely successful Grand Prix driver himself always maintained that Pedro Rodriguez could, should, and may well have been world champion had he not been just one of those people who couldn't resist driving anything, anytime it was offered.
Yes, and I'm afraid he lost his life at the Norris Ring in a fairly elderly Ferrari, I believe.
Yes, and of course we mustn't forget that today we've also had a fatality here. We've just been taking a tour of those garages which are closed, and the first of which was shuttered up was the 95 Aston Martin, and sadly Alan Simonson today lost his life at this very event, and our thoughts of course are with his family. They were in fact asked if they would like the Aston Martin team to suspend their race, and they asked that they continue and race on and try and win it in Alan Simonson's memory. So let's just hope that comes to pass. It would be something. 1986 was the last time we lost a life at La Sarthe during Le Mans. We've had testing fatalities in the meantime, but just one, I think. Sebastian Emburas, it was on test day on one of the WR Peugeots. It was subsequent to his injury that was fatal that they banned the one-piece bodies pod, I think, where the WR used to just lift it up rather like a canoe project. Seem to remember it happening later on, but maybe it was amended for safety reasons. But 1986 it was that we lost Joe Gartner, the Austrian, went into the trees at Mulsanne, and today we've lost Alan Simonson, and we're chastened by that, and in fact just trying to enjoy the rest of this event, albeit with that shadow hanging over us.
Yes, and we obviously hope that the rest of the race goes without incident.
Quite right. We have had more incidents, I've got to tell you, some of them extraordinarily dramatic, but thankfully the last one, estimated time for barrier repairs 30 to 40 minutes, we're now being told, so that is way up to 4 o'clock. So chaps, to save you having to
I would say probably about another 20 minutes, half an hour. We have had some of that time go. We were going to talk a little about tyres. I know that we...
Oh, sorry, carry on. Yes.
We're talking about tyres the other day during practice, and it was Martin, our colleague, who was explaining to those of you that, of course, there is a huge difference between the tyres that you and I have on our road cars and the tyres that are on the cars that are racing here. First and foremost, although this is to some degree made up of public road here at Le Mans, it is comparatively flat. In other words, there's very little camber. Now, this is for several reasons, but among them, of course, that currently racing tyres are very, very much fatter, very much wider than road car tyres. And no point in having a nice big wide tyre if you can't actually get that part of it down onto the road. And if you have camber, then obviously you can't get it flat on the road where you want it to be. And we have not very much suspension movement, which common now into all forms of racing cars do not have a lot of suspension movement. That is one of the ways of getting the maximum amount of grip. We, of course, see treaded tyres normally on our road cars, but of course we have slicks here which act literally what they sound like, which is a rubber sucker almost on the road. And the only thing is that when they do give, when they do slide, they do so very suddenly, and they can catch you out very suddenly, and it's a rather different ball game.
Gentlemen, Philip Pond says what sort of tyres they run at night compared to day. There's no difference. There's a rather nice question which has come in. Have any of you actually done a lap of Le Save? I only as a passenger, I might add. Chaps, come on, fess up. When did you do it?
Oh, I did it going back now about 20-odd years ago, when Audi were here actually with some road cars, and we had a competition which I have to tell you I did not win. I know who did win it, but I think I did get the booby prize, but that's another story. We won't go into it. To finish it off, the tyres are different. The tyres, for example, were what gave the Toyotas the advantage earlier on yesterday, as it is now.
You haven't allowed Chris to talk about his lap.
Well, he was going to say
we'll finish.
He'll get there. Just leave it be for a minute.
They can be different because they can be a different mix, and if it's cooler as it has been, they can use a softer tyre, and if it's hot, they use a harder tyre. Now, you tell us about your lap.
Before you do that, let's just mention this, shall we? The 91 car, your Bergmeister on board, has just been pushed into the garage, and it looks for proper fettling. It allows more of the team members to actually work on the vehicle. I'm not sure what changes are going to be required, but that looks
well, it looks like a full service.
Changing brake discs.
Yeah, it's a good opportunity under the safety car to push the car back. Then you don't have the restrictions on the number of mechanics that can work on the car, and really give it the once over without losing as much time as you would do under full racing conditions. So that's what they do. Push it back, on they go.
Fantastic. What about this lap?
Right,
I'm now desperate.
Dear, oh dear, oh dear. Many moons ago.
Oh, here we go. But
Yeah.
first there was Adam. Go on.
Yeah, absolutely. Back in the 80s, I was taken round by the organisers just before the race started, and that was terrific. About 20 minutes before the race started, by a racing driver in a Jaguar. And that was terrific thing. Great fun. But must tell you, I was involved again back in the 80s. We persuaded the organisers to allow the teams to take journalists round at the break in qualifying. And they got the marshals to stay on post instead of going off for their supper. And some of the teams cooperated, Jaguar, Porsche, all sorts of people, and we put journalists in the cars, and my God, the look on some of their faces when they got out.
Yeah, I was off to ride in a DTM car, and it's a real shame because I just couldn't fit. There we are. The wings of the head protectors were actually between my shoulder blades, just far too big. I am 6'4", so that was the end of that. Incidentally, I've got to give him credit. It was Michael McCulloch that asked the question. He also wants to know if you can buy a bag of chips here at Le Mans. That is an easy thing to get hold of, to be honest. And yes, they cater for the Brits and the Danes and the Germans and the Dutch and the Belgians very well indeed. All nations, all of those aforementioned nations, love their chips. Never sorry.
And we allow a few French people in as well.
Quite a few, in fact.
I just thought while we were talking about trips around circuits, I was once taken around the Nürburgring by Jochen Mass. I will not forget that in a hurry.
And you still haven't paid the laundry bill, I understand. We will take a brief break as the 91 car prepares to leave after a full service. Very well fettled it is as well. Reported rain on part of the circuit, and in fact I'm seeing a few spits and spots on the window here underneath the lights of the carousel.
Yeah, Hermann the German was quite something. So we've had this sort of half an hour, 40 minutes break. I can't think it's going to be too long before we're back into action again, but it's going to be interesting because we were talking about this question of what happened this afternoon, or rather yesterday afternoon when the race started. And it was because the tyre advantage, using these very soft tyres, that the Toyotas were actually quicker at that time than the Audis. Now, I don't think those conditions prevail at the moment, but it would seem that there is something of an advantage for them in sort of conditions which might occur. The other thing being that they have this slight fuel advantage, so it isn't over yet.
Yes, we can see that the McNish Audi has stopped 17 times, and the Davidson Toyota only 15, and the Lapierre car only 14 times. So yes, there is an advantage there. And if it's going to be wet overnight, and in the morning, which is quite regular hit round here, the Toyotas are superior to the Audis.
We'll take a break. We'll be back with you live at Le Mans, and hopefully with some action for you fairly shortly in just a few moments. Welcome back. Flagman busy, and yes, maybe he's still got echoing in his mind Earth, Wind and Fire, who performed earlier on this evening. But it's Mariel Dance who's leading with that flag as we speak.
It looks like arms about to fall off.
I was going to say, the barrier looks pretty decent, chaps. I think we may well be close to being back in action here.
But I tell you what is back in action. I can see the rain coming down.
It's actually falling quite heavily.
I'll tell you what, if you could see it go up, it would be fantastic.
Incidentally, we are back as we were. Cars 1 through to 8. All the LMP1 cars are together. Lotterer managed to ease his way past the Morgan, now in the hands of Brundle. And we're going to be back and underway. The safety car still with the lights illuminated. However, the barrier looks complete. I suspect they've got to have a chap in a brown coat with a pencil and a clipboard to come and inspect it. And once he gives it the OK, then we'll be racing.
Well, we can see that it's raining up by the Dunlop Bridge. It's raining here, and we're at on the pit-in road, and reported rain in area of Marshall's Post 18-9, which is down at Arnage, I think.
Yeah.
So it is raining.
It is raining, and it is a challenge. And we haven't, of course, had the driving rain that we had at one stage of practice on Wednesday. But that's the one thing we don't want to see. A little bit of damp like this, okay, we can cope with it. But if it does actually start to really throw it down, then, of course, you get a situation then where everybody's got to stop, change tyres, and then we get this wonderful situation which goes on when you're not quite sure whether you should be on slicks or on the intermediates, on full wets, and so it goes on.
Matthew, sorry.
It seems wrong that Toyota are quicker in the wet than Audi, because Audi have got the four-wheel drive.
There you are.
Wow.
The rain illuminated by the... it's kind of coming down as heavy drizzle at the moment, almost like a mist. But believe me, that is going to have a really negative impact on the surface here. This surface is going to get very, very skittery with that dowsing, because we haven't had rain for around about 9 hours. I know that sounds a bit of a shock to you guys, but yeah, it's been relatively dry, and this is the first little bit we've had, and it's going to make the surface a little bit unstable.
And there'll be a lot of oil and rubber on the circuit, so it will become very, very treacherous.
It will. On the restart, let's hope they take it safely.
If you get a lot of rain, it will be okay, but it would just a drizzle like this is when it can make
it's almost worse. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
But the one thing it will probably stop is any fog in the morning. When dawn comes at Le Mans, there's often fog on the Mulsanne Straight, which can be very, very difficult for the drivers, but the rain will stop that. And there is a wind from the southwest, which usually brings rain, but takes the fog away.
32 car about to get underway. Oh, hello.
Well, it is if you can start it.
Yes, you can. And finally, they've had all kinds of problems, not least Lotus, of course, with a court case kind of hanging over them, where they lost, unfortunately. The 31 car, I think, was the worst affected. That went out very, very early, incidentally. But yes, components were the issue, and a court order was issued, and those components were stripped from the vehicle, which wasn't great, and so it's kind of hampered Lotus's efforts here. Matthew David says, what's the top speed of cars on average around the entire circuit? Top speed, actually gunned today, I think we nudged 300 kilometers an hour, which is almost around 200 miles per hour, 325 kilometers per hour today. What's the average speed that we've been carrying around the entire track?
It's about 140 miles an hour.
140 miles an hour.
241 kilometers per hour. There you go.
835 150.
There we are. Nev's done the maths. There you are. Matthew David asking the question. Thanks for all your tweets, by the way. You've been extraordinarily lively. And the safety car is still out. However, you can see that the activity in the pits means that that period may well be coming to a close fairly shortly, and nobody wants to get caught out.
Well, here you can see that the Aston Martin is also having... it's got carved slicks there. I think they'd like to refer to them perhaps as intermediates, treaded slicks. And it looks to me as though they're having a pad change as well.
Incidentally, Jan Charus and the Lotus are running in 18th place, and I'm slightly shocked by that. They're on the outlap at the moment. They've really come through the field, although it is a diminishing one.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you say diminishing, Carlton, but we've only lost 6 cars in
still, you're right, 50 remain. One suspects that with the surface as it is, as Chris was quite rightly pointing out, a lot of fluids, rubber, all kinds of mess essentially been thrown off these vehicles, and yeah, not least just the exhaust output. Well, after we've been going around for 9 hours with no rain, just to have light drizzle, it's worse than full-on rain, as Neville was saying, or no rain at all. So, yes, I'm expecting this to get a bit skittery when we get back and underway. Still with the safety car. 21 car just coming into the pits right now as well. It's starting to get busy as everyone realises that this period is about to end. Danny Watts is on the HPD, a 21 machine that is coming in. And on to his marks right now. Nice looking vehicle, this.
Yeah, and being very well driven. It is surprising, actually, that without question, the P1 cars have been beautifully driven throughout this. They've had a fairly close battle. In fact, even now, you know, the P1 cars are there all in a little row, and nobody has lost a huge distance, except obviously car number 1, which was spending an awful lot of time when they were rebuilding part of the electronics of the car. But now he's with fastest lap to his credit. He is up to 8th place, and I reckon he could probably get in the top 5, and I think he will.
Yes, just fuel on the number 1 car. No other changes.
I think he'll get in the top 5.
That's interesting. They didn't change the tyres, so they don't think it's going to get that slippery.
Well, it is as we have said. For those of you who probably might have missed this, if you did, sorry if we said it and you did hear it, we're boring you. Le Mans, because it is a long circuit, when you think about Grand Prix circuits, which are, should we say, 3.5 miles in length, this is an 8-mile, roughly, circuit. So you can really have, at Le Mans, just as you have at Spa and places like that, where it's raining in one place and dry in another. And it doesn't help much.
Yeah, and the rain no longer seems to be falling on our windows here, so...
Gentlemen, we've had a request that the safety car speed up. Now, the last time we had this, that was so they would pace up, lights would go out. They're still flashing as we see them. 3 safety cars, incidentally, so they have caught the field in various parts of the track. That's partially because, as Neville was saying, this is more than 8 miles around, and if you had a short safety car, you wouldn't manage to get everyone in order, or indeed in line for the restart. So 3 get sent out. Has its own negative.
Well, we have a notification that car number 55 is at Marshall's post 35. Now,
Yes.
it doesn't tell us what he's doing there or who with. But
It's one of the GT-Am Ferraris.
yeah, that's what
yes.
I thought.
Exactly. Well,
Probably
it
just stopped for a moment.
just disappeared. Yes, exactly.
Having a
So
cup of tea, Carlton.
back and underway. Yes.
Chinese restaurant?
Yeah, it'd be nice actually.
Yeah.
There we are. And that looks like shiny new barrier, and they look reasonably happy. And it looks like the lifting device has now rehooked up his bucket. And take your rest when you can get it. I think that's the watchword.
Well, they've done a fantastic job, actually, to replace that Armco in that time. And it is an important part of it. Now, there's a chap having a back rub. Isn't he lucky?
One of the things about Le Mans is it's very much a family affair. If you bring your little kids, if they really are little, ear protectors, please. A lot of them here, and in fact, the stewards will guide you towards ear protector vendors if your child's ears are unprotected. There's some very loud noises in this business. And the last thing you want is little ears to get damaged. Anthony Wood is watching with his son Alex, who's 13, presumably a bit of a motorhead as well. No sleep yet, he says. So much the better. So much better than Formula One. Keep up the great work, Eurosport. Thanks, guys.
Yes, it's nice to know that we've got the young with us at this time of night.
Exactly. There is car number 70. Those of you who have been with us all night, it seems like all night, doesn't it, may remember that this car went off. It then got as far as the pit road. Then the lights went out. And then there was a definite smoke-filled cabin. And it was pushed into the garage, where it's been pushed again. And the driver got out rather quickly. And they started taking bits and pieces of it. And they put it all back together again, and they put more fuel in it. And now it's back. They've just pushed it back in the garage again.
Yes, exactly. Jail Ward says, has a kit car ever raced at Le Mans? I think we can probably count WR as a kit car, can't we?
Yeah.
Yes, and also WR, I think, the fastest car at Le Mans ever down the Mulsanne Straight.
Exactly right.
I think they topped 400 kilometres when before the chicanes were introduced.
That's right.
And they used to come here with I mean, it never stopped. It couldn't stop at the end of Mulsanne. It used the escape road and was last seen disappearing towards the village of Mulsanne.
WR stands for Werner Racing, incidentally, if you want to look it up. And they used to build their own weird cars. In fact, if I actually started at once upon a time a collection of WR cars, the little tiny models, of course, because they all look so completely different, just as Aston Martin always looks like an Aston Martin. A WR car never looked like a previous WR car. It was a bit of a canoe project because it was a one-piece body that had to go into the garage. It was always garage 56, and basically they used to lift it up, work on the car, put the body back on, and then go out racing again. They sealed up all of the air intakes. They put extra skinny tyres on it for this run that Chris is talking about. Went over 400 kilometres per hour. Unbelievably unsafe as well, and the organizer said, you know what, I think some chicanes might be in order because tyre technology is just not keeping up with these speeds, and that is why we have 2 chicanes on the Mulsanne Straight. Yes. We're going to take ourselves a commercial break in just a few moments' time. This safety car looks like it is going to be extinguished. The lights on it, that is, all 3 of them that are out on the circuit at the moment, hence so much work that's going on right now because they want to be well fettled by the time those lights do go out and we're back on track. It's 5 to 4 in the morning local time, and there are just over 11 hours of racing still to be had here in Le Mans. So we'll take that break and we're back with a chat to a few more of you in just a few moments. Stay with us.
It's going down here.
Welcome back. We've got, how can I put it? Heavy drizzle, I think. It's not actually full-on stair rods as we speak. Safety car is coming in this lap, but caution at the restart due to wet conditions is also being called, advised to everybody. In comes the 8 car, swift one for Anthony Davidson. It's a driver change by the looks of things as well. Out of the car he goes.
It doesn't look as if
go racing.
Doesn't look as if they're going to change. Oh, yes, they are.
Yes, they are. They are going to change tyres on that car.
I wonder if they're going to put the intermediates on.
We think. Yes, they are.
There are
clever boys.
Well, untreaded intermediates.
Well, this is a very late call, and it's probably a very wise one. Now, if they time this absolutely right, they'll get a full service. They'll head down the pit lane, and as the safety car gets pulled in, they'll just be able to continue. I don't know whether they timed it that accurately, but they're going for intermediates here, boys.
Yes, and that could be very. It is now pouring with rain. The organisers are cautioning the teams due to wet conditions, and at the restart it's going to be quite exciting.
Do you know what, Chris? I still can't see pouring.
There is a little bit of damage on the front of that car.
There is, and I'm wondering whether that's going to be required to be fixed before they can leave.
I think they intend to fix it before it leaves, but that probably gives us an idea who did what with which and to whom, because we did see a little bit earlier on an incident where somebody, and it was Patrick actor, please help me, the name has gone from my mind, Dempsey, who got clipped into a spin, and we never found out who did it.
Well, this is a man who's having to work very, very hard with his star-shaped key right now.
They want to get that car. Yes,
that was done tidily done. Good boy.
And the safety car's not come along yet, so he can get out without losing any more time.
Right, look at the way this drizzle is just hanging around on the lens here. It's not sort of sheeting down, so we're not getting stair rods. It's not heavy rain. It's worse than that. It's as if somebody has delayed a light mist. Oh, now we've got proper rain by the looks of things. Goodness me, and if that's being picked up by a camera, oh, look at this.
Well, that's definitely proper rain.
It's definitely proper rain. Let's have a look. As we go in on it, do you know what? I still think it's kind of like foggy, misty rain, but like a sea mist almost. But this is the worst possible rain we could have had, Nev.
Yes, it's pretty horrible rain. And on the one hand, I have to say that if it stays like this, at least it's going to be universally wet, and it will wash away some of the rubbish that's on the track.
Nick Howardfeld's just come in the 12 car. He's decided it's too dangerous to go out there. That he wants intermediates as well. I think everyone is going to go for this. We're saying it's been dry so far. It's anything but now. Safety car lights are out, and we're going to be racing in just a few moments' time.
Yeah, there's a big queue coming into the pits, and there's one of the Audis.
Big train of cars also. This is an insurance stop here for Audi. Having seen Toyota take on intermediates, they're going to do it themselves.
Nobody's going to take
the chance. Safety car has been reinstated. Lights are back on because they want everyone to get properly booted.
I think that's a very wise move on the part of the clerk of the course. Get them booted and suited before you go out on this skating rink.
I don't think that's right.
No, I know.
You would say that, wouldn't you?
No, I don't think that's right. If you're going to have a motor race, let the motor race. If the circuit
and if Toyota were clever enough, then don't allow everyone else to copy them.
That's exactly what endurance racing's all about. If you can outthink your opponents, you should gain.
There we are. Chris Parsons starts with the pointy finger, and he means business.
And if you can outthink the Yost team, you are doing well. Reinhold Yost is the master.
Begin to think, actually, I've got a graduated respect for. I think you are probably right.
Tell you what, as we're under the safety car, I'll take this as an opportune moment to hand over to Martin Haven, and he can take the restart, and it will be testy due to the horribly damp conditions that we have right here. So I'll bid you a fond farewell, and I'll see you later on this morning.
Well, there we are.
Well, here comes Mr. Haven to join us.
We're not. Mr. Haven, good morrow to you. Did you sleep well?
No.
Well, that serves you right anyway.
I've been out outside the track watching cars go by.
Well, since you were with us, a few things have happened.
Yes, they have, haven't they?
Yeah. We
I have to say, I'm afraid I do rather strongly disagree with Chris, especially after the happenings earlier on today.
Well, I do believe he has a point, but I can understand where he's coming from. It's the one that we could probably debate at some time.
Well, I agree. If the track was green, he wouldn't have thrown a safety car for rain. Since the safety car was already out, I don't think it's germane in the current situation to not allow teams to be in as safe a position as possible. So
I feel that that's their decision, and with the drivers, they can come in, but I don't think that the safety car should, unless the conditions deteriorate so far that you have to put the safety car out to make the conditions safe. I think they should go racing.
Well, again, of course, that is always the decision of the race director. And the race director has decided that those are the conditions. Since the entire field is already motoring around at 100 kilometres an hour on cold tyres, and it's now greasy. So they're not hot slicks, which might give them a chance of grip. They're cold slicks, which wouldn't give them a chance of grip.
No, I think we have to disagree there.
Well, no, I think we have to bow to the decision of the race director, as does everybody here at Le Mans. So whatever we think, unfortunately, as with the safety car situations normally, it is just what we think and not, unfortunately, what becomes law. Or perhaps in some cases, probably fortunately, not what becomes law. So, yes, it's been a rather disjointed race so far.
We're told 8 safety car.
Well, seven was a record, and so now we are on safety car number 8 and rainy period number 3, and still no closer to knowing who's going to end up winning this race, and indeed, who's going to be close.
No, I think this is really the $64,000 question. We concerned initially because we were in a situation where we could see, well, the Toyotas were quicker when it was slippery. Now, we found out that there was a good reason for this.
Yeah.
They were on very soft rubber, which was working very well for them, and they were, at that time, undoubtedly able to stay with the Audis. The second thing is, of course, they have this slight advantage insofar as they don't have to make quite so many stops. They have this fuel advantage, and so therefore they were playing, if you like, on a slightly more even field than the practice times would have suggested.
Yeah.
Looking at what has happened, however, we now have a situation where the rain is back. We have a situation where 2 Audis got themselves into problems. Not that they're making, it was just one of those things. Motor racing is back like that. And so at the end of the day, it's still a wide open box, isn't it?
Like everybody else, the leader is on pit road. And so is the number 1 car. Leader has left, Loic Duval. He's joined back onto the safety car queue. Nicolas Lapierre in 2nd place. Sebastian Buemi in 3rd, has just left. Lapierre in his Toyota is on pit road, and so too is Ollie Jarvis. And the number 1 car, which is now, in fact, separated from the rest of the P1 field by Martin Plowman, the LMP2 leader, who is in 8th place, which is where Andre Lotto was. All the P1 cars were together before the safety car stayed out a little longer. And, of course, then everybody went for a slew of pit stops. See, they're stopping in herringbone formation because that's the way they've decided they will do it, because the cars are now too long at Audi to have all 3 of them lined up nose to tail. So, having decided that's the way they're going to do it, that is the way they're going to do it, whether there's anyone else in or not. Because, Chris, they're not the leaders, and you never know when the leader might suddenly rush in.
Yes, you have to make sure that he's looked after, and Audi have staggered that for the whole race, haven't they? They brought McNish in early in the first stint, and they've made sure that they always can only ever have 2 cars in at one time. But even then they had a problem because the car didn't come in straight. And there they are, all waiting to go out.
Bunch of cars, yeah, exactly. Safety car will come in this lap, which doesn't necessarily mean that the safety car we see first at the Ford chicane will peel off at the Ford chicane, but at some stage and various points of the track, the safety cars will peel off. Just going back to the very beginning of the race, the reason I think that Toyota looked a little more racy than in fact has been the case is because, as you say, Neville, they went on to a soft nighttime rubber, which is what they'll be using, or would be using now if it was dry, and Audi didn't. They stayed on the daytime tyre. Our Michelin representative told us, confirmed us that earlier. What we suspected was there was a tyre differential. And thinking about it, actually, the reason that Audi did not twitch and react to the weather is that from the drop of the tricolor from the beginning of the race, they were going for a 4 stint on their tyres and with their driver, and they were not going to change that for a little bit of drizzle unless they were forced onto wets. And so they stuck with their guns. Toyota got in amongst them, but then as the weather changed again and it started to dry out, Audi's long-term plan started to come back to them, and Toyota's softer rubber started to wilt a little under the pace, which is when we saw the Toyotas then dropping back and the Audis returning to the front of the field. So, as so often, they went with plan A and didn't flinch, and in this case it suited them well, and then it paid them back well.
They've got strength in depth, haven't they? That's the great thing about
this. This is what Martin has just outlined is endurance racing.
Yeah.
This is playing chess at 200 miles an hour. It's very complex.
Yeah, absolutely right.
And the good doctor has had a lot of practice at it.
Oh, yes.
I also think it's interesting that once again it's a 2-car battle against a 3-car battle. I would have felt more comfortable if I was Toyota and having a 3rd car.
Well, yes, but again, I was thinking earlier of a couple of years ago when there was 2 Peugeots and 3 Audis, and suddenly in almost the blink of an eye there was just 1 Audi left out front, being harassed by 2 Peugeots with what, 18 hours of the race or something to go,
and they kept them
and they held on and they held on, and damn it, they won the race. And they were the rookie team. That was the #1 crew's first win in 2011. And I did think earlier on as we headed into darkness, and then there was one, is this history repeating itself all over again? Single Audi being chased by 2 blue and white cars, nominally faster. In this case, not so. It's normally the Audi that's faster, but the balance of power is by no means certain, and the way this race is going, nothing is by any means certain. So yeah, we have 1 healthy Audi out front, and luckily for them it was 2 different problems that hampered their teammates, so they're not particularly waiting for the sword of Damocles to fall on them.
I think I was most impressed actually by Audi and the car this year. From the word go, they looked at what happened to them last year. They looked at, as far as they were concerned, they don't like losing, and they were losing, and they got it right, and back they came. And they really had things going extremely well.
They're back racing.
They are indeed. Green lights, green flags. I don't know whether Marshall, yes, they do actually still wave the flags out of force of habit.
That's a yellow flag he's waving, not a green flag.
Well,
no,
it's a green flag.
Are you sure?
Yeah, looks green to me.
Well, I'll believe you if you say so. It looked yellow to me, but who am I to argue?
So Loic Duval, the race leader in Audi #2, Sebastian Buemi in Toyota #8, and Nico Lapierre in Toyota #7, who's just come out of the pit, so he'll be in a queue behind the safety car.
Very, very gifted driver, young Mr. Buemi, who I didn't think had perhaps the best of opportunities in his hands, and perhaps this is going to give him a chance to show of some of his real ability here, because I think he has actually a lot going for him.
Well, also being particularly impressed by Ollie Jarvis, who's a relative newcomer to this sports car racing through the day, through the night, and through most of the next day nonsense, and has acquitted himself very admirably indeed at Audi.
A relative newcomer to a very good car. If Ollie Jarvis had the opportunity to have a car like this before, it's nice to see that at least he is being recognised for that ability.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but he's got tremendous experience, though.
Oh, yes.
He's been in DTM for a long time.
Yeah. But,
Out of pit road comes the
doing very well.
Porsche 911, the 92 car that is currently in the lead of the GTE Pro class, having taken over from Fred Makovici and the early race leader, the 97 Aston Martin, now with Stefan Mucker at the wheel. So somehow Porsche, which was pretty much out of the running in qualifying, ooh, gee, look, they have shuffled their way to the front of the field. Now they have taken 12 pit stops to 13 of the 2 Aston Martins, so they're a stop ahead now.
The
do they owe us a stop?
Yeah.
Well, they've just come out of the pits, so I'm suggesting no, they don't owe us a stop at all, because the top 3 in GTE Pro all just left the pit lane.
Redoubtable Mark Lieb.
Yeah.
Very, been driving for Porsche now. Saying he was a very young man. And,
yeah, he retired as well. Retired as a Porsche factory driver, went off to university for 2 years, did an engineering degree, and came back to Porsche as a factory driver. However, he's now got his second career firmly lined up, because when he decides, or they decide, or between them they mutually decide he's too old to cut the mustard anymore,
find him a job in the
just
factory.
Move over to the engineering side very nicely. Very, very smart cookie, and as unassuming as you like. Also unassuming and moving rather quietly up the order is that number 51 Ferrari. Now, don't forget, that is 2/3 of the team that won last year. Fisichella leading, and Jimmy Bruni, Fisichella behind the wheel now, and Jimmy Bruni, they won the race last year. The 51 car at midnight looked like it was going to play really no part in any proceedings. It was 7th, 8th, 9th or whatever in the GTE Pro class, but they have just hammered away, and now they have crept themselves up the order. They are now in 5th position, ahead of the 71 Ferrari, which is the best placed AF Corsa car a few hours ago. Olivier Beretta, with that sort of slightly nose deranged car, is now in 6th position. The Chevy Corvettes 7th and 8th in the class, and still really struggling to get on terms with anybody else, I'm afraid, in the GTE present. For them, the new C7 Corvette can't come soon enough.
I wish I could just hear the engine note of that Toyota once more.
You will, I expect.
Yeah, I just had a feeling, I don't know, that things weren't quite as I would have them be. But I'm probably imagining it, and I hope so.
Well,
I just thought it came out of gear.
Things aren't quite as they should be, perhaps, for Christian Ried in the Proton Porsche. See grooved tyres there ready to go on.
That's one thing I was going to bring up. They've decided it is wet enough to put grooved tyres on. Now, the Toyotas went on to ungrooved intermediates.
Slicks, I thought.
Slick immediates.
Grooved slicks.
Oh, no. Ooh, now they're going full wet.
Yes.
Yeah, they are going full wets, but the Toyotas, no, they were going on groove slicks.
Well, bearing in mind, Toyota have hired 6 of the very best drivers on the planet of sports cars, whereas this AM car has got 1 silver, well, gold or platinum driver and 2 gentleman drivers. So it's a very different kettle of fish. Christian Ried, Gianluca Roda are the gentlemen. Paolo Roberti is a gold standard driver, so he is a professional. And Christian Ried, you know, he's one of the owners of Proton and has been with them for many years in GT racing, always in Porsches. But clearly he is of a mind that a wet weather tyre, thank you very much, is going to be much more the sort of thing that will help him get the car to the end of the race.
Yeah,
it's interesting looking at the lap times. We're just getting a sort of a little bit of a look here. 4:11 as opposed to 3, and hello.
Yes, and Martin's friend, Mr. Fisichella, has been through the gravel trap.
Yeah, Marshall's post 42. He got all the way to the first chicane before going straight on his out lap. So there I was, just bigging up their progress, and he's rather under the radar slipped through the gravel without letting us know.
Who else are you going to?
Yeah, I know.
Sing the praises of Martin.
Not even a quarter of a lap for the curse of the commentator for my fulsome praise. Oh, this will be it on board, will it? No, this is the Toyota, I think. That's the Toyota.
Yes.
I'm not sure who we're on board with there. However, we will leave them to their own devices and return to you in just a moment. Stay by your beds. Having bigged up Giancarlo Fisichella in the progress the number 51 AF Corsa Ferrari was making, and then seeing him skate off into the gravel traps not just 2 minutes ago, wasn't I saying that it was up to Christian Reed to decide what tyres he would like best to get him round. And if wets were fine for the team boss, then wets were fine. He's gone straight on at the first chicane as well on his choice of groove tyre. I think I may leave before I mention somebody else and curse them too.
Yeah,
I think that's one of the Toyotas.
No, that's not the first chicane. That's not me. I haven't mentioned any of them. That's you.
I thought about it.
Martin Havel, never. Martin Havel.
Yes.
See, now I should have started at the other end. Chris Parsons, Neville Hay, Martin Haven. I can say that. I can't go the other way down the table. And Eurosport's live coverage of the Le Mans 24 Hours. 10:43, not at night. It must be 10:43 somewhere, is it? No, it can't be, because that would be, we're subtracting 10 hours 43 minutes to go. Record 8 safety cars already in the race, and we still have 10 of our 24 hours to go. It hasn't even got to light, and we may well, with the weather the way it is, raining again at Circuit Permanent de la Sarthe, may well have a cause for another safety car, because as you can plainly see, cars are whistling by all over the place. Number 3 Audi being passed by number 1.
Yes.
Who do we think is close to him on the road? It can't be number 1 unlapping himself, can it?
Well, he could be. You know, I mean, he could be taking himself from 10 laps to 9 laps behind.
Nev, I think it's going to work a lot better if we move the microphone closer to you.
Number one has been lapping very quickly, and Andre Lotterer set the fastest lap in the dark about an hour ago. So, yeah, number 1 really is stepping on it.
Talk amongst yourselves. I know that won't be too much of a chore. I have a page to find.
We'll let him find the page, can't we?
Well, meanwhile, we'll watch the race.
We'll watch the race.
Yeah, I can see that the rain is still coming down outside our commentary position. So, although looking at that over the far side of the circuit, it does seem to be drier over there.
Yes, it's certainly not around the entire circuit.
Yeah, there's no spray coming off that car in front at all.
Sir, please, sir, are we just coming down to the second chicane?
I would have said we were coming down to the Porsche curves.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm trying to...
We're also...
I found a lovely page on my timing screen which shows the position of every car, but because it's on a very small screen, it's a very long track, they're necessarily truncated, and so basically it shows about 20 numbers with blobs of numbers underneath them. So until the wretched Audis... Oh, it is 1 and 3.
Yeah.
1 has just gone by 3 as they came, when I can see them now separating there now, the 40k. So it is number 1, has unlapped himself, not from the leader though, but from Ollie Jarvis in car number 3, which is why Ollie let him go so easily. I think he was probably asked rather nicely, would you just let him go by? Thanks.
But he's still 11 laps behind, so...
Yes.
So he's got a lot of lapping to do.
Yeah, he has. But, you know, I mean, these guys in the number 1 car, they won it last year, they won it the year before, and so they know you can't always win it. And Ollie Jarvis gets himself caught out in traffic and almost runs up the back of the 8-star, the orange Ferrari. And do you know what I mean? These conditions are vile enough, and that's a very, very demanding corner. 170 mile an hour turn in, tight uphill blind right-hander, and as the car's really leaning hard on its left-hand tyres, you want the right-hand tyres to grip as you brake and then try and turn to the left. You're trying to roll the car from your left shoulder to your right shoulder. And, of course, it's greasy, and they don't like to do that. I was watching up there earlier on for about 20 minutes, and I'd say about a third of all cars in all classes got in too deep into the Dunlop curve and drove right out to the outside and just fringes of the gravel trap. So easy to do. The only corner perhaps that's easier to get wrong is Arnage.
I love that Marshall there just under the bridge. He's found himself in the best position that any Marshall could desire, because he can stay out of the rain.
Yes.
And he's loved every second of it. I've been watching him all evening.
Years ago, the Dunlop Bridge used to be some rickety old thing. It was basically just an advert. Now it's a massive structure. It's a proper, it is the pedestrian bridge over the track. So it's a very substantial bit of shelter as well. It might actually protect him from a bit of breeze.
And it's one of the images of Le Mans, along with those popular trees on the outside of Tetra Rouge.
Popular?
Are they popular? They're very popular.
They're popular poplars.
They are very popular in this neck of the woods, young Christopher.
My pretty dear.
KCMG. Oh yes, the car has returned. This is a classic Hugh Chamberlain car, isn't it? With no disrespect to Hugh always seemed to find himself associated with a car that just would not stay out of the garage, and KCMG, I'm afraid, appear to have found one of those for themselves.
Quite sorry today, it's threatening to come back.
Oh, he is coming back. He's gone to Mr. Bed for a snooze. You can see the rather attractive lights in the roll hoop. A lot of people were asking during the course of the evening, especially as the night came down, what are all the flashy lights for, and yada, yada, yada. It's to identify your car when it's coming towards you in the dark, either up the pit lane or across the start-finish line. These guys hanging over, knowing it's about due, will be looking for two little blue arches, as opposed to two little golden arches.
And the organisers and the cars, the regulations may say the cars have to have illuminated numbers.
Yes.
And there's been quite an issue this evening because the illuminated numbers are failing.
Yes.
And the organisers are having to hang them out the orange and red and black flag, which means they don't have to come in immediately. They can wait until their next pit stop. The next pit stop, they have to rectify the car.
I suppose the guys at Murphy and two or so hours ago, and they lost a couple of laps because they had to rectify theirs. But he said, in fairness, we have been bluffing it for 3 hours, so we knew it was coming. It was on the left-hand side, so not facing race control. We got away with that for a while, and then eventually we knew it was coming. So it got ripped off in a bit of contact, so all the wiring was still there, so they just got their last one, plugged it in, taped it on. They're sort of adhesive, self-adhesive panels with a very fine filament that illuminates behind the number. But he said, yeah, that one's got to stay on, because otherwise, you know, you don't want to be retired from a race because of lack of numbers.
Here we have Toyota on Toyota.
Bit of Toyota on Toyota action for second place. The gap, 0.0. Guys, grey stuff. That's the legal bit. Here we go.
But number 8 is definitely quicker than 7 there.
Well, I think there's a sort of a desire to... they're both lapping in roughly the same time, but there are still a couple of seconds down on Duval, aren't they? On the lap.
And he did sort of hurl it across the curbs rather substantially. He'd sort of treated the Ford chicane as if it was basically just a straight and went zooming over the chicane.
Loic Duval is 2 seconds a lap quicker than Nicolas Lapierre in the Toyota behind him.
Well, he's about 3/4 of a lap in front as well. Loic Duval on our screen just turning into the Porsche curves now as they turn onto Tertre Rouge, which is 4.5, 5 miles, 5 miles probably separation. Of course, pick up a puncture on somebody's debris, get tagged into a spin, boing, gone. It's not even a lap. Yeah. Not even a lap.
Actually, and here we are.
10 hours and a half, 10 and a half hours to go. We've got, what's the lead gap? 2 minutes, 27.8 seconds. Yeah. Not 2/3 of a lap.
So there's a lot of racing to happen.
A lot of racing, and the pit stop situation is going to help a little bit, but it's going to help a little bit more. If I look at the timings and everything else as well, I still think that the Audi can hold on there, even with the extra advantage of one pit stop less, perhaps.
Was that just me, or when we were on board there, did you hear Hollywood-style tyre squeal as he was going through the S's? I know, and that's wet weather tyres in the rain, or inters or something or other, so they're obviously starting to give so much grip that they are actually getting squeal now.
Yeah.
That's ridiculously insane.
Well,
I think there's an element there also of the harvesting of the energy.
It's not a harvesting place in the S's. No. The next one was at Tertre Rouge, then the 2 chicanes, then Mulsanne
Corner. You could hear it again then. You could hear it again then, and right-hander.
Well, the Audi, because there's when you're trackside, because there's basically no engine noise whatsoever.
All you can hear is
tyre squeal or tyre chirrup or whatever, and the whistle of a low-flying missile. It's just the most bizarre racing sound. It's as close to an electric racing car noise as you can get. And actually, what will be interesting is when Nissan bring Son of Delta Leaf, or whatever we're going to end up nicknaming it back next year, their Garage 56 project, which is predominantly electric, although not totally, I don't think it can be. how totally electric is going to sound compared to the Audi diesel.
Yeah.
And so now, of course, we may not be able to back it with the current silent whispering diesel, but wait and see. KCMG going out on grooved tyres, and actually, do you know what? It's not really stopped here. It's still drizzling enough to make it consistently wet, and you can see in the pictures there, the pit lane, the track, nice sheen of water on, the perfect conditions for having the accident nobody wants to have. So he comes over the blend line, up into the Dunlop curve, and everybody else has to go round a pedestrian speed car. Tucks in behind the rest of the queue. What are we seeing here? We were saying what the poor spectators are doing, which is trying to stay awake and or snooze in the drizzle. All been there. My first race, I slept in a field and I woke up to find it was raining on my face. So I rolled over under a nearby car and went back to sleep.
Just as well the car didn't move off, Martin.
Yes, I'm not sure I was awake enough to check that. However, had it started, I might have moved a little quickly.
Was this your first visit to Le Mans?
It was, 1983. Have you seen the pictures? I'll show you in a short while.
You did show me the picture actually earlier on, because I came back Belgium way only once. I was sent by a company who sent me, and that's what they could afford to do.
Third in GTE Pro, as you can see from the 3 lights on the side, the indicator lights down the side of each car, 1 or 2 or 3 illuminated for first, second or third in class, and in this case the green lights, as with the green on our timing screens, tells us it's GTE Pro, orange lights for GTE AM, red lights for LMP1, blue lights for LMP2. Makes it very easy when you're at trackside. You're just watching cars go by, enjoying the kind of different sights and sounds. Oh, there's the LMP2 leader. Oh, wow, he's looking quick. Or in this case, as he'll come up the hill, the lights go off because that stop lost him third place in the GTE Pro class. And that has now been taken by the Porsche Patrick Pilet. At the line, but the Aston got out in front, but it's wagging its tail. Pilet has got tyres that are up to temperature. The Astons have just come out of the tyre warmers. No, he didn't take tyres, did he? So they should be hot enough, but Stefan Mucker out-fumbled there by Patrick Pilet, who was coming up with a head of steam and a degree of determination, I would suggest. I bet his engineer was saying, he'll be coming out right in front of you. Get him.
And of course the Porsche with the rear engine has the better traction, which we did see there.
Yeah, the Aston trying to get all its horsepower onto the road. However, the Porsche on the straight is now giving away a nice tow, and the Aston will pick up its skirts and pony on right up behind it using all of that gorgeous muscle power. So don't be surprised to see the Aston having a little lunge in the first or second chicane. He doesn't get close enough. I love the gravel trap cam. We don't have gopher cam here, but that's good enough for me. It's a great view across the gravel trap. Again with the Porsche, you saw how close the Aston was. The gap can't be more than half a second between them, and the Aston again sitting in the slipstream, looking for a way to get by.
Just taking it easy on the first lap out.
Well, I'm looking at the fringes, the dark bits of the track, to see if any of them suddenly illuminate. Look on the right-hand side, how much closer the Aston is.
For a long time.
Right up behind him this time. And now you get onto the longest part of the Mulsanne straight, the third element after the second chicane, or the faster part rather, down to Mulsanne corner. Patrick Pilet flashing the headlights at who is in front of him.
Well, whoever it is, he wants past him, and
there are 3 cars,
there.
in fact. So they're coming up on a group of 3 cars. 71 is Olivier Beretta's Ferrari, but it's 97. No, it's not. It's the 55 car in front of him. Or is that? Yeah, it's the 55. I like my screen. It's telling me stuff. And I can actually read it. They've gone by. Fantastic battle, and you're right in the heart of it. And again, look at the shadow growing. The lights are getting closer behind the Porsche on the run to Indianapolis.
This very fast
run. You can see the shadow all the way. Looking.
Oh, no! Do not do that? Oh dear. No, not in Paris. No, that was for the director cutting away for a battle for position for third place that looked like it was all going to shape up there at Indianapolis. Didn't quite get round to happening. What does my timing screen show? My timing screen still shows 91 in front of 97. It's very close. In fact, the Aston is having to get back in front of the 55 Ferrari. And the Aston, down to the Porsche curves, lunges in front and then doesn't lunge in front. So the timing screen is showing me funny things. Let's take a quick break while our heart rate comes back down to normal. Welcome back to nighttime racing at the Circuit de la Sarthe. It is the 90th anniversary of the world's greatest endurance motor race. Live coverage here on Eurosport, wherever you're watching, whether it's night for you too. Yesterday, could it be yesterday still somewhere? I suppose it could be, or tomorrow, more likely. Wherever you are watching in Europe, in North or South America, across the far or Middle East, down in Australia, New Zealand, you're very welcome. Martin Haven, Neville Hay and Chris Parsons watching the action. On board here, the number 42 Zytek Nissan. That's just stopped in fourth place, that car. Michael Krum going back out. Did he lose a spot? I think he did to Lucas Luhr in the other Zytek, the 38 Jota car. So battle for position there. Yellow flags at Marshall's post 8. That is the exit of the corner here. So as we come up under the brow, should see yellow lights on and flags being waved. We do indeed. That means somebody's gone off. Let's ride with Krum and see who and where. I see Marshall's. I see no cars. Michael Krum, though, being cautious down into the Forest S's.
He's being very cautious, isn't he?
And just come out of the pits.
Can't see any
Car
ships,
45 has spun. I can't see any ships either, Neville. I was waiting for somebody to join those dots. It's the Oak Racing Nissan, the gentleman driver car. Jacques Nicolet, Jean-Marc Merlin and Philippe Mondelot. Loving my French accent, aren't you? And can't tell who's in it. Meanwhile, back in the pits. See, that's one of the great things about being a pit reporter. Everybody says, well, how do you walk up and down for 24 hours at a time? Well, because cars are always coming in. They keep you going. From wets to slicks, the 67 IMSA Matmut Porsche. Now, that, I would venture, is a bold move. But then Wolf Hensler, their pro driver, is a bold man. He's obviously decided these wets are giving up the ghost. Time to get me onto something with no grooves. Now, this could be the Michelin soft immediate. Kind of intermediate, but with no grooves on, so what we're calling super soft tyre.
Yes, it does appear to have stopped raining at the moment as well. So maybe he's drying. This is drying out, and as he's going out for a full stint, put him on an intermediate at worst.
Good call. It is not raining here also.
No.
In the very famous words of Master Tony Hancock. Mark Genet watching proceedings. The Audi driver of the number 3 car. Ollie Jarvis currently giving it a thorough spanking out on track, but in front of him we saw a change about 5 laps ago now, probably, between Nico Lapierre, who's now 3rd, and Sébastien Buemi, who's now 2nd. And Buemi roaring away from Lapierre. He's now 14 seconds in front of Lapierre at the end of the last lap, and he's lapping 3-4 seconds a lap every lap. So Sébastien Buemi, the former Toro Rosso driver, again giving his car the full whip.
His last lap was quicker than Loic Duval, and as we know, Duval is the real speed merchant in the Audi team at the moment.
He's not hanging around.
Done
of course,
that 2 or 3 times. That's 3 or 4 laps now. He's
these
probably
things,
about 6 or 7 seconds.
These things slightly come and go a little bit, don't they, empirically, because of where you catch traffic. But you're right. I mean, they are both on absolutely front-running pace.
Maybe that's something we should discuss, Martin, because at a meeting with Audi the other day, they were telling us that they actually count the number of overtakes that a car has during the 24 hours.
That doesn't surprise me in the least. I wouldn't be remotely surprised to find that Dr. counts the number of driver bowel movements as well. If we're getting into that. Honestly, I can't conceive of any aspect of this race that is not thoroughly documented by Audi.
They actually sit someone down back, I don't know whether it's at Ingolstadt or in Brackley, and probably the mechanic that's made the worst pit stop, Boo, he has to sit there for 24 hours and mark every overtake.
He watches the ziggy-zaggy screen that we're watching with all the little numbers moving around that tells you where everybody is, and he sits there and tries desperately not to nod off for 24. Do you know what? It's probably a computer program that does it for them.
No, it's not.
Oh, is it not?
It's not. It is a person.
It's a genuine blurk.
Yeah.
And he's not allowed to go to the loo either.
And the number.
Sometimes I do regret starting threads. This may just be one. Go ahead, Chris.
And the number comes out at 1,400 overtakes.
Well, every race?
In a 24-hour race.
Every time?
Or not exactly.
On Virol. Okay.
And they reckon that the Audis have to go offline, pick up debris, marbles and things 4 times a lap.
Now what I want to know is what is the total cumulative weight of the marbles that are picked up by an Audi in a race? See, 300 laps, 1,400 passes or so. That's carrying on. It's quite a lot a lap.
Yep.
3 into 14. That's 5 a lap every single lap.
Well, that goes with the having to go offline
that tallies
3
or 4 times.
Yeah. So that tallies.
Because of course there will be the occasional gimme where somebody's in the gravel, but that is very occasional.
This is all getting a bit too clever for me.
Nev, since the day Audi decided to do this, they've been too clever for simple folks like us.
Yeah, but he's in the computer business, you know. I mean, there's no problem with people like him.
But he was told, so it's not quite like it counts. 32 Lotus, the remaining Lotus, leaving pit lane and an outlap, and again, just tyres. So Dominic Kreiheimer in that car deciding, yep, it's dry enough. Now, again, cars that are, how can I say this without sounding ridiculously dismissive of what is actually a really good effort. Cars that are not in the immediate hunt for victory or podium in their class and are now consisting of flogging the car around to get as good a finish as they can out of it. They are in the position where they can amend their strategy and go, right, now it's time for slicks, let's go for slicks. Or, as in the case of Jacques Nicolet just a few laps ago, actually, do you know what? Really not comfortable on these slicks, let's get on to wets because I don't want to wreck this car, I want to finish. Whereas Audi, I'm thinking a much less likely to be flinching because the weather are much more likely to be locked in. See, Nicolet with the grooves on his tyre. Now, those are not regular grooves. Those are being cut. So, what tyre manufacturer? Talk amongst yourselves.
Well, we are going to talk amongst ourselves because we're going to point out for a moment or two that
they've done
just look at the last laps. I'm always getting interested in this. Now, we've just seen Duval on a 346.
With Buemi on a 345.
Yeah.
But another factor we have to bring into it, that I'm afraid that the Toyota pit stops are slightly longer than the Audi ones. Although the organisers have allowed them a faster flow rate, they have a larger tank, and therefore it is taking longer to fill.
Yeah, they get another 3 litres, I think it is.
Well, Chris, when you're stood at the pumps with your Bentley, it takes you longer to fill it than it does when I'm standing there with my little Mercedes. And that's just, you know, it is unfortunate fact of life. More fuel that goes in, longer it takes, unless you can force it in under pressure. Well, you don't fill up your Bentley. Well, you push it everywhere.
I don't have a Bentley.
Oh, I've seen it. Is that not yours?
No, it's a Jaguar.
I thought you brought a Bentley down the other year.
No, that's my TR.
Old lady.
That's my TR.
Okay. I could have sworn you came in a nice old Bentley a few years ago.
I wish I did.
I nearly bought a. Well, it wasn't a very nice old Bentley.
It's nice, working with people with a different class of car.
Yeah, different class of car.
We haven't got to the Alvis yet. That's a really classy car.
That is a really classy car. Now, there you go.
Have you still got Sean Morris that?
No, I was going to talk about Baby Brundle because Alex Brundle is having... Oh, I see now. I really don't want to say
You
this,
shouldn't
do I?
have said that, Martin.
His father would be
Has he got-
pleased with the way he has driven
Has he
over
got
the course
safely
of the
past the
weekend.
first chicane yet? Let's just check.
His father would be very pleased with the way he's driven
His
this
dad
weekend.
is very pleased. In fact, I spoke to Martin just before the race, and we were talking strategy and weather and what's it going to do, and we kind of agreed that it was going to do pretty much what it had done all week, like it does in the UK. But Alex Brundle in the lead of the race, first participation 2012, when his co-driver was a certain Brundle M Esquire. And Martin is, well, he was professing on Twitter earlier not to have itchy feet. He said, yeah. Then we got to the driver's parade, and I did think, I'm in the wrong place watching this, and I'm not quite sure how he felt standing on the grid getting ready for the start when he could easily be the co-driver perhaps in a car. And yeah, I think that's difficult, but I think he's going to be, if his son finishes on the podium in only his second ever Le Mans, I think he is going to be, and rightly, enormously proud. And Alex is turning into a very fine young sports car driver. And again, we've got Morgan's first and second, so hello again to Charles Morgan, who I'm sure is awake somewhere. And none of them got three wheels at the moment.
He learned a lot last year, Alex Brundle, there's no question about that. And I think that probably it was quite a good idea that they should start together, because it brought him confidence as well. I'd really still like to see Martin drive the race from time to time.
Yes, absolutely.
I do hope we can see him back here again.
Yeah. Do you know, I wouldn't be unsurprised. I think he's getting to the stage where if it doesn't happen in the next 12 months, it might not happen again, because eventually you're going to get fed up of being an athlete who's actually not getting any chance to use your athleticism, and so the training kind of goes a bit. That was the third place car, incidentally, and that's the Bussi-Gignon car, the third place car in LMP2, driven by Lucas Luhr at the moment. The Jota car, which is another car with a lot of British influence, because it's got Simon Dolan and Ollie Turvey in it, and then of course Jota is based in Kent, a British team. They're third. So we've got British driver first, Alex Brundle in LMP2, British driver second, Martin Plowman in LMP2, a guy who's raced predominantly in the States in the last few years, particularly in Indy Lights, and Plowie not really very well known, I don't think, by British fans, and certainly by British sports car fans. Again, in a really good position. There is the Jota car. Lucas Luhr, guaranteed safe hands, ex-Porsche driver, ex-Audi driver, and doing a great job in the States with Muscle Milk and their Greg Pickett's P1 program, winning races left, right and centre, one in the LMP2 Porsche, and a solid gold, or in his case, I'm sure, platinum addition to the Jota crew. And again, for them to finish on the podium, it's going to be a massive, massive boost for Sam Hignett's team, and if they can do it, it's going to be a hugely well-deserved result.
Another second snatched back by the Toyota there. This is getting to be quite an exciting contest.
Every lap now, it's a second. It seems to be a second quicker.
It's going to be quite an exciting contest, and I'm just looking. 18 as opposed to 16 pit stops, 15 only for Lapierre. That's interesting, isn't it?
Well, again, he may owe us a stop, but we'll have to wait and see when that comes in. Darrell O'Young, Canadian-born, San Francisco educated. I went through this before. Hong Kong Chinese driver.
Very good. You got that absolutely.
Races regularly in the FIA World Touring Car Championship, in the Carrera Cup Deutschland, in the Asian Carrera Cup. He's a twice winner of the 12 Hours of Bathurst, and somebody's wiper arm has come off. Didn't get that from Halfords, did he? That's not doing an awful lot of anything, really. I was going to say, you would think he'd get bored and turn it off, and bingo, he did. So, you know, wiper arms and wiper blades, you think, how difficult can it be? They're doing 190 miles an hour. Actually, quite difficult.
Were you here when we had the discussion over wiper blades? Because, was it Chris? You said that somebody has developed a new... No, it's Audi, isn't it?
Audi.
Who have developed a new form of wiper blade. that copes with A, the high speed, B, the curvature of the screen, and C, is obviously efficient. And I said, as far as I was concerned, the best wiper I'd ever come across was on Mercedes, and they seem to have done it so well that they weren't letting anybody else copy it.
Well, they used to have pantograph wipers, didn't they, all the time? And now they've kind of drifted away from that and gone for a slightly more conventional two-wipery thing. So, wagging the tail over the 911. By the way, if you're looking at the new factory Porsches and wonder, what is that thing they've got all over the roof? It's 50. 91150 it says across the car, because it's the 50th anniversary of the 911. Daryl O'Young being strapped in. His LKM sponsorship all over this Ferrari.
Slicks again.
Yeah. And again, after Pier Giuseppe got out, fresh set of tyres, full tank of gas for the driver. And, of course, in this business, you get in and you hope, because you haven't had a chance to have a bit of a conflab with him, Daryl will be hoping that Pier Giuseppe left him a brake pedal that is actually capable of doing something. I'm sure he would have radioed in if the brakes needed attention. But, you know, in the old days, that was certainly something you really had to trust. You trusted your life in your co-driver, that if there was something really germane to the car's survival, and hence yours, he would mention it. Now with radios, it's perhaps, and so much telemetry, it's perhaps a little more obvious. Pit road for number 2 car. This is our race leader, Loic Duval. And the question is somebody standing by in a helmet to take over, or is this a quad? Is this a quintuple stint?
No tyres being bought out.
No,
yet.
That means no driver change. Now, somebody asked me earlier, what do they clean the screen with? And at the risk of sounding facetious, screen cleaner. Commercially available screen cleaner. Various different teams will use various different ones, and teams do use tear-off windscreen covers, like you'd have a tear-off visor in a single-seater. Probably 1, maybe 2 on a car at the absolute most, if you think it's going to be filthy. Probably only 1, because they tend to distort the vision even more than these highly curved screens.
Having said they won't go to change the tyres, they are.
Now, in which case... Oh, that's wet tyres coming off. Well, that's not a surprise. But he is staying in, Loic Duval, so he gets a fresh set of slicks. Now then, I'm not sure when those wets went on. A full stint ago. Now
there was a bit of hesitation there.
I wonder whether he was told to stop because they didn't want an unsafe release. Maybe he was waiting for the red light at the end of pit lane to change. Maybe... he just had a few too many revs on slick tyres on a wet apron. You are not allowed to wheel spin away from the start. Somebody asked why not, and actually, really for safety reasons. It's not because the ACO don't like black stripes on the tarmac, although the ACO don't like black stripes on the tarmac. It is for safety reasons. Alex Brundle is out, so full service on our LMP2 leader. So Brundle is out, and pole setter Olivier Pla, who snatched the class pole in literally the final 2 minutes of qualifying on Thursday night, gets back into that car.
And there's the next Audi in, the Andre Lotterer car.
This is the recovering number 1, which is now in front of the LMP2 leader, who is Martin Plowman. So yay Plowy. So
he's made up a whole lap. He's 8 laps behind the leader now.
Yes. So we saw him unlapping himself.
It was 11, so he's actually made up 3 laps since his long stop when they had a...
And do you know what? That is just stunning pace, because he's not catching a hobbled leader. He's catching a leader who's keeping the rest of the field at bay. It's astonishing pace.
Well, he's kept this pressure up constantly. Yeah, OK, we've seen... 3:55 for Duval, 3:49 from Buemi. Where's his time? 3:47.
3:47. It's insane.
So he really is push, push, push.
Well, this is, you know, this is really the time, were it dry, when very frequently the fastest laps of the race are set.
Changing tyres look also on the Peugeot. Now, did we have a change of driver there? I didn't notice.
I thought that was a Toyota.
Yeah,
Sorry, I meant the Toyota.
Do you know, if it was red and white like they used to be the last time, it would have made our lives
so much a lot easier, wouldn't it?
For simple men like us, it's just too much.
Did they change the driver? That was the thing. No, right, fine. Because...
that stop did take Sebastian Buemi out of second and allowed Nico Lapierre to go back into second, but Lapierre owes us a stop now compared to Buemi, and so that should flip-flop back and forth.
I mean, but one thing you are right on, Neville, the number 7 car, does seem to be making less stops than
Yes, it does.
than its teammate, and less stops than the Audis.
Yes, they're playing a little game here, aren't they? There's no doubt about that.
Have I mentioned car 55 recently?
It's gone straight on again.
I know.
Car 55,
Did I speak about them?
where are you?
Did I speak about them in glowing terms at any stage? Oh, it's Darrell O'Yall. Of course, I was just talking about Darrell O'Yall.
Well, you're going confused.
I really have got to give this business up. I am cursing.
You're confused. You said he was a Canadian who was educated in America, who comes from Hong Kong, who was working in Germany. The poor chap doesn't know whether he's punchboard or countersunk.
He had...
So he went straight
on.
on.
No chance, did he? I talked about him for 2 minutes solid. He had no chance. He was always going to go off. Where? At the first chicane. and the reason so many... See, why don't they go off here at the S's? Why didn't they go off at Tertre Rouge? Because the tyres that come out of the tyre oven are still baking hot here. But by the time they've got round at a moderate but not really high speed onto the Mulsanne, down to the first chicane, the tyres are stone cold and possibly even out of their temperature range. So you touch the brakes, straight on, up the escape road. Welcome back to Le Mans. A couple of minutes ago, we saw the number 8 Toyota from second place coming down pit road. Sébastien Buemi changing from wets onto slicks, surrendering second place. It will now come back to him as teammate Nico Lapierre, who inherited second at the beginning of this lap, comes in at the end of it because we can get a commercial break in during the course of a one lap.
And it's a change of driver as well.
OK, well, we saw Alexander Wurz, didn't we, lurking with intent, or without garage, to be slightly more accurate, and folds his... Do you know, sometimes you look at Nico Lapierre, jockey, Kazuki Nakajima, jockey, Alexander Wurz, basketball player, and you wonder, how on earth did they choose this lineup? You've got somebody who's 6'5" and change, and somebody, and two other drivers who are about 5'5" and change.
Did you know that his wife has written a book?
Julia?
Yeah.
Super Ego?
Yeah.
No, I didn't know that.
Well,
Why?
she has written a book. So
I referred to him earlier as when he was going off somewhere as the husband of author S. Julia.
Oh, well, there you are, you see.
I also know that Julia is here on a girls' weekend with Kelly McNish and a bunch of others as well, because they're close friends and close rivals, but close neighbours in Monaco as well.
Well, I can't get her to autograph it because it's on mid-gimbal.
Yeah.
And, yeah, new tyres going on, slicks, and the intermediates that they've just taken off just behind them.
Yep. One last point on Super Ego at Julia Wurz, available on e-readers now, is that, in fact, the boss of the mythical Formula One team exists in the cybersphere. He has a Twitter account. Doesn't tweet very often, actually, so Julia, you know, get one of the kids on it or something. But no, certainly around the Monaco Grand Prix was tweeting about his team. The Lamborghini engined entry,
yes.
with all of that entails.
Yes, yes.
In fact, while we're talking books, first of all, Michael Krum's book, it's called Driven to Win. Very, very good book indeed. We mentioned Duncan Hamilton's book, which is another cracking read, although Adrian, his son, would dispute some of the details of the 1953. Well, yeah, there we go. It's a cracking yarn anyway, and you know, as David Niven used to say, there's some real things in the biography. Oh dear, now wheel gun problem there. No, he's got it all done on Thierry by TDS car. What we're talking about was one of the best books about motor racing, features as its central character a dog. Go and look out Racing in the Rain. That's a good one. There is the Straka.
There's Racing in the Gravel.
And is that Nick Leventis at the wheel of that, or is it Johnny Kane? It's Johnny Kane. It is Johnny Kane. Facing backwards. Now then, we talked about the fact right at the beginning of the race that this car has not got a spare nose cone. And I said, right, so if you're going to have one, hoik on the handbrake at the last minute and go in backwards. Good boy, Johnny. Good boy. I didn't say it to him, of course. I just mentioned it rather facetiously on air. Be careful with that axe, Eugene. If you pull the nose off, you will retire their car.
And don't run over it.
Yes. So he's looped round on a greasy bit of outfield, I would suggest.
Trying to work out where that is, actually.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know that.
Would you like me to tell you?
In fact, it's just outside our window.
Yes.
Yeah, just here.
See, just there, that car with the digger. Yeah, it's that one.
It's a bit of a sort of a close pace to give somebody a toe, isn't it, with all these lads coming by?
Meanwhile, wave. Oh no, the camera's facing the wrong way. Wait, no, never. Meanwhile, something going on at Rebellion, and didn't quite see why they were cleaning the bodywork, other than the fact that it was off.
Do you think he's done? Well, yeah,
he's trying to shorten the strap up now because it's too long. Johnny's rolling backwards, which is not
I think he's out.
No, he's out of it. It's all right.
Very good. And he's at the exit or the entrance to the Ford chicane. Pit entry road temporarily blocked by Kane J of this parish. And now he finds there's lots of terra firma, there's lots of very different little bits of entry road here.
And he's found a new way into the pits.
Well, do you know what? That is about the best place to spin, because you then get the chance to come straight in and get the tyres checked or changed, and the car checked, or not changed, but checked anyway. And Straka right there, they were ready, willing and able. Slicks are ready. Yeah, I don't think they're the softy, spongy, intermediate-y things. Super softs. I do like the new matte livery on the Straka. That's very attractive indeed. Sort of matte luster to it. The tyres are ready. I'm assuming because it was such a low-speed spin. Well, they are going for tyres anyway. Is 12 coming back out? Yes. Yeah. See at the nose, incidentally, you're used to seeing dive planes onto the front of the car coming out horizontally. They've got vertical fences as well. That's for cutting down drag, apparently. Not it tidies up the air around the front wheel arches, really substantially helps to cut down drag. Things what you never knew.
So that car is still in 6th place.
Ooh, so, well, might have lost a place were it not for the fact that while they were sitting stationary, in fact, it's not. They have lost a place to Johnny Kane. Despite Kaney's spin, Neil Yarney going out triggered the pit lane beacon, and he has, in fact, lost a lap, I would think, to the Straka at the very least. Didn't see when the car went into the garage. So, unfortunately, unlike the old days where we stood above the grandstand facing the pits and we could look down and see these things.
Actually see what was going on.
We now have to rely on the telly pictures, which are not, despite what you might think, omnipresent.
I'm just watching the lap times again. Duval and Buemi. Well, Buemi had about half a second on him last time. Duval comes through first. He's now done a 3:32.5.
Now then, there's Nick Heidfeld out of his car, which Neil Yarney has just taken over. And in fact, as Johnny Kane has tripped the timing beacon, he has gone back behind the number 12 Rebellion car. So they hold their position as they were having their issues. Johnny Kane was creating an issue of his own. And Andre Lotterer, not yet on the same lap as the Straka, I don't think. Have to wait and see how that transpires. Lotterer might now start to pick off actual P1 cars instead of just GTM, GTE Pro and P2 cars, which he has all successfully left behind him.
Yes, there's still 2 laps in it.
And still 10 hours to go.
Yeah.
Or 9 hours 59 for those of a more pedantic nature. So in a couple of minutes we will have our 10 minus 2, 14-hour roundup.
Takes a bit of time at this time of the morning.
You know what, you look at the screen, you go, yes, and it's 9:58 in the morning. No, it's not. It's 9:58 left, which is I'll look at my watch now and not resort to the screen. It's
5 o'clock.
It is 5 in the morning here. And actually, by this stage, the roseate fingers of dawn should be starting to streak across the sky. And that sort of means that it's quite cloudy still.
Yeah, they're not.
On a clear day, you could see forever. Certainly by this time, on top of the tribunes, where we faced the grandstand there, on the left of your picture was where the sun would come in, viz. The east. And so we would be staring into the early morning sun from 4:30ish, 5 o'clock. Certainly we might be seeing it. I think perhaps it's a bit of a dark, sort of almost like having a race in March. Imagine that. Cold, wet, miserable.
It's like living on the Isle of Man.
Yeah, looking at the back of our cabin. Any light coming up.
10 hours to go, 14 hours in. These are the positions. It is still the number 2 Audi that leads. It's still got a titanic battle going on between two Morgans from different teams and the Zytex 3rd and 4th in the LMP2 class. In the GTE Pro class, Porsche have the upper hand at the moment over Aston Martin. Porsche, Aston, the top 3. Porsche, Ferrari. And look at that. The battle between the Porsche and the two Ferraris, all on the same lap at the moment for 4th position in the class. And of course the top 3 were split from the rest of the GTE Pro field by the first safety car of now 8. Record 8 and counting in this race. And Raymond Narak is leading the GTE AM class with the orange numbers and the orange lights on their cars on the side. And he is in the IMSA Matmut Porsche. Second in that class, Daryl O'Young in his Ferrari. Third, Matt Griffin in his Ferrari. So we've got a Frenchman, a Hong Kong Chinese and an Irishman, first, second and third in the class, with Joe Foster 4th place, having taken over from Patrick Dempsey in the Dempsey Del Piero Proton engineering car. Yellow flag at Marshall's post 8, which is the beginning of the S's. SRT, boys. Shh, now, quietly. That is for Y, Keats, for Y. And if only he could turn around. I'm assuming that's a P2. Assuming that is... Oh, no, it's the KCMG car.
Oh, well, I suppose...
He's going to.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not though, is it? No. Hush my mouth. It's the DKR car. I'm sorry. Yeah. I am continually getting my acronyms together.
Don't bang it into the wall though, because that will cause you more of a problem.
Well, we did have a question earlier on. Do prototypes have reverse gears?
Oh yes, they have reverse gears.
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do indeed. And lots of them. No, just the one.
But half the time the drivers don't know where they are.
Well, because generally speaking, not that bothered about where reverse is, much more bothered about where first, second, third, fourth, fifth and sixth are.
And of course, close to that wall.
Of course, with flappy paddles now, you don't have to lift the detent out of the way, so you can hoik the lever back. You know, that stops you doing it in a fit of down-braking exuberance at a chicane, somehow slotting it down from fourth neatly into reverse. Now with the flappy paddle gearbox, you can't do that. I don't know if some of them, though, you need to maybe press another button so you don't accidentally select reverse in the pit lane.
Oh.
Well, I mean, you know, with a flappy paddle, there's nothing to stop you just clicking it down one more from neutral and into reverse.
That was going to happen.
And that is one of our fronters in GTE.
And there's not more too involved in that.
It's raining
and
over there.
Yes, it's raining, and that's why.
That is Paolo Ruberti and Daryl O'Young. Daryl gets away. Ruberti up there does not. He makes contact with the recalcitrant number 39 of Romain Brandela, who has had more spins than your average hot washing machine. And that was the car that was in 4th and 2nd in the AM class. Daryl is 2nd in the AM class in that Ferrari and gets through by the skin of his teeth.
Well, he's
Look
well
at that.
truly...
There he is, across the grass.
But he's in the gravel.
Yeah, Paolo Ruberti is off there.
He's in the gravel.
And Daryl...
But actually, that didn't look as if it was his fault.
No, I don't think it was.
It was the LMP2 car.
Yes.
He was innocent.
Straight across on him.
Yes, he was having a monster dawdle and then a meander, and I'm afraid mimsing of the most black flaggable order.
Guess what I think is going to happen next? I think we're going to have a pace car.
Well, do you know what? I'm not sure. I would think you can drag that with a local yellow. It depends. Well, it's there already.
Oh, it's there already.
The snatch tractor is there, ready to snatch.
Brilliant stuff.
And Paolo Ruberti, not long on patience when he's been taken out in a situation like that, I would warrant. However, he has got a race to try and win, so he will try and keep his bad temper for when he gets back to the pit lane later. In the AM class, it is still the Porsche of the IMSA Matmut team that leads. Darrell Young second in that 55 Ferrari, Matt Griffin third in the 61 Ferrari. I did not see which Ferrari went by, but it was either 51 or 71. One's got a green stripe down the windscreen, one's got a blue one, I forget which. I think. And
it's quite difficult to see at this time of night, Martin.
No, but well, the strip's very easy to see. I think the green strip is 51, Giancarlo Fisichella. Incident involving cars 39 and 88 under investigation. Yes. Well, the stewards will take a look at that and pronounce. And any investigation that involves contact will be any situation that involves contact will be investigated as a matter of course.
Well, you can see that he's got some damage to the front of that car.
Not badly damaged. He's got it lit, though.
Yeah.
Okay, it won't hold, but he's trying to get it started.
Yeah.
When he turns the key, and oh yes, when you buy one, they give you the ignition key. When he turns the key, it's all the lights are coming on, but it's not catching just yet. Red hot racing engines often take a bit of patience to get them restarted.
That looks a bit more lively.
Very easy to flood, unfortunately. Now, of course, he's pointing the wrong way on a gravel area behind a barrier, so he's now got to figure out and be told, you want to go straight on there, mate, or back up and turn left, or whatever it is. So whatever you do, do not go against the direction of travel or get stuck in the gravel again. Oh dear, panic not over yet for the Porsche. Indianapolis, one of the fastest corners on the circuit here at Le Mans, down into Arnage, one of the slowest and one of the easiest on which to make a mistake. We're in a battle here for position, the number 2 Audi e-tron Quattro. This is beg your pardon, this is our race leader, Loic Duval.
Putting a lap on.
Just putting a lap on the Toyota of, you've got to assume, Alexander Wurz there. And that is going to be a mighty step for him to get a lap lead over either of the 2 Toyotas that are chasing him in second and third place. Will be a very big step forward indeed. It is car number 7, according to my timing screen, which is Alexander Wurz in third place. In comes the number 39 car, which was a victim of its own making, I'm afraid. Caused an incident as well after recovering from being off the track. Not much damage at the back of that car, but they will have to make sure that the modesty panel on the back remains intact. The rear bodywork clips, I'm sure, will be detached and a new piece put on. And then Romain Brandler, for 'tis he, will be free to pop out again and get in somebody else's way. Afraid the stewards are probably going to summon the team manager fairly shortly. Not quite sure what sort of penalties there might be for mimsing. Damaged bodywork comes off. Quick check underneath to make sure that things like the protective bar at the back and gearbox casing and so on are a-okay. Rear lights are working. So again, they're removing the panel by the wing there. Yep. And here comes the car that ran into the back of the very slow and randomly driven number 39 car. And Paolo Roberti, well, we saw for a while he had lights but no engine. Now he's got engine but no lights. Now he switches the lights back on. Yeah. And of course, you know, after an impact like that, the one real Achilles heel of the 911 era of GT3 racer and GT2 racer for that matter before it is that all of the cooling is right behind the front bodywork, all the way around those front ducts, front vents, as you see him sprinkling gravel everywhere through, I mean, again, through no fault of his own. All the cooling is right there, so they will have to have a very good check of that, because if they send him back out with a hole in the rad, then, you know, 8.5 miles to get back to the pit lane, it's entirely possible he might not make it.
Wouldn't have enough for a cup of coffee.
Proton, you know, he certainly would. Not the pressure that they have to run the systems out. If there's a leak, it doesn't just dribble out, it comes out like a flood. The 88 car, the Proton car, has dropped, I'm afraid, from what was battle for 4th or 5th in class down to 9th or 10th.
One of the mechanics went flying there.
Knocked him for 6, actually. as they whirl the thing round.
It's just not having the best of runs, this car, is it? It's even running over its own team.
Yeah. Off he goes.
Yep.
Indeed.
Without a rear light.
Oh, well,
So he'll
be back.
Don't worry, he'll be back.
And he will be back.
Yeah.
Yep. Especially since he's already on the naughty boy list anyway.
Yes.
His card, as we would have said in the old days, Nev, has been well and truly marked,
Yes.
I think.
Headmaster's study, I think.
Yeah. There's a car behind him flashing. Oi, mate, you've forgotten to put your lights on.
He's done it again.
Oh, my Lord. And that is the second place Toyota.
I think, that somebody needs to have a word.
Yes.
Like,
Right in front of the Toyota.
should you not perhaps look for another form of employment?
Well, you see, the problem is he's not employed. It's not the team that has hired him,
Yeah.
if we can put it that way. He is a gentleman driver, although a wealthy amateur might be slightly more to the case in what we've seen from him so far. Very unfortunately, not only is he causing the team an awful lot of heartache, but he's almost had 2 other cars off the track. And in fact, is this one of the cars? Talk amongst yourselves. Yeah, I'm looking for a piece of paper.
Yes. We saw the cars just on Mulsanne there, and there was a lot of spray.
Yes.
So it could well be raining again over there, although it doesn't appear to be where we are by the pit-in road.
I think we're all right here, but I think there is some rain over there. But we had this actually yesterday afternoon. I was sitting in the motorhome, and 150 yards up the road it was raining.
Yes.
Simple as that.
It's very localised.
Yeah.
Well, luckily it wasn't filling your gin up, Nev. I mean, that would never have done. My
I
goodness
haven't got any
sake.
gin. I'm terribly sorry. I haven't got any gin.
It was his whiskey.
Whiskey, yes.
It was diluting the whiskey.
I will have you now. I only had 1 glass of white wine.
Romain Brandela
Well, I shall make
and
up to
Stefan Raffan are both in the number 39 car, are both rookies here at Le Mans. I think Romain Brandela might find it a little difficult to get an entry next year.
And Loic Duval is going to be feeling very pleased that he's pulled back a couple of seconds.
I tell you what, Loic Duval's race engineer won't be feeling entirely pleased that he's still got to get round Romain Brandela. 39 car is currently at the Mulsanne corner as our race leader comes down to the second chicane on the Mulsanne straight.
Martin, just keep on talking about number 39.
Oh, good call, and then he'll go for the first chicane.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you see, the problem is, the flip side of that is every time he goes off, he takes somebody else off, either in the act or near after, or indeed in the retrieval afterwards, or the return from the pit lane afterwards, or at some stage anyway. So race leader now coming onto the fastest part of the circuit as he comes out of Mulsanne corner. He will start the run up to Indianapolis. In front of him is the car that for a long while was the leader in the GTE Pro class. He flashes Fred Makovici as he goes by. That car is second, and chasing Romain Dumas, who is 2 minutes 52 up the road in front of him. Leader now approaching maximum velocity. V1, V2, hit the brakes, down inside the Boutsen Gignon car, who just ventures a little bit offline to give him the room, but enough that he knew that the car was committed. And again, out of Arnage. Should we turn the mics off and just have a little listen? Doesn't make a lot of noise. just as smooth and rhythmical as you like. Loic Duval, our race leader, using just enough curb and no more in the forward chicane, and keeping everything very neatly under control in the Porsche curves, and substantially more noise from the onboard camera than you ever hear from the side of the road from this car. And that last lap we rode on board with 3:28.1. No wonder he looked so fast through the S's. And another chance to, or through the Porsche curves, another chance to ride with him onto the Mulsanne straight.
Yes, I think he'd be very happy with that one.
5 seconds quicker than the pursuing Toyota of Sebastian Buemi.
Yeah.
And we can just see a little bit of grey in the sky to the east now.
Which is quick as anybody who's gone in a straight line.
You see how much the Audi's lights pick out there in the darkness. We are getting ready for a driver change now.
Slicks coming out, but with a 3:28.
Yep. Well, that's
it's got to be dry.
It's not for Loic Duval. That is for the #1 car. That is for the chasing car. The two-time winners here. André Lotterer brings the car down pit road. Who is going to take over? Marcel Fassler, Ben Trellier, André Lotterer. It's their third year together as a driver lineup. 2 wins in succession. And then a crankshaft sensor problem on the car this year has dropped them right back down the order. New tyres getting ready. Windscreen has a full clean, full tank of gas. Driver out. Yes, out he gets finally, André Lotterer. Fueling is completed. Those 2 bottles, incidentally, one is drink, one is screen wash. Can you guess, boys and girls, why they're very, very different colours?
Well, the one tastes a little different to the other.
Doesn't bear thinking about.
Can't see where I'm going, but I know I'm going. Exactly. Exactly. Yes, that apparently is what they are. They've been using the same pressurised system for the last couple of years in the Audi. And little... Okay, what are they adjusting here now? Okay, they're unscrewing something, hand into an inspection panel, adjusting something. Now, this would possibly be something like a roll bar adjustment or a suspension adjustment. In NASCAR terms, maybe a turn of wedge, but we don't, of course, have that kind of thing. Or are they reaching? They're reaching in to measure something, aren't they? Now, this is a delay. The #1 car, seriously delayed already, could well do without. You can see the inspection panel. So it's not for an adjustment, it is for an inspection. It sort of looks like somebody's unscrewing the lid of something. Would that be a brake fluid reservoir, I wonder? Oil and water systems are under a lot of pressure. If they need topping up, you plug in a pressurized line like an airline. No, I'm thinking...
They're not happy.
They're going to put the car back in the garage.
In the garage straight away.
Boys, I'm thinking that's brakes. I don't know why I'm thinking that's brakes, because his lap times have been very, very decent indeed. But I don't know what else you would have under an inspection hatch that you would not expect to have to top up or adjust. And if it was suspension, wouldn't that be under the nose? Meanwhile, 42 is in, and this is the car that lies 4th in the LMP2 class. Mikael Krum currently at the wheels, sharing it with the 2 PlayStation Academy graduates, Lucas Odoniev and Jan Mardenborough. Michael Krum, highly experienced GT racer, especially in Japan, spent most of his professional career racing in Japan in Formula Nippon and in Super GT. And long time server of Nissan.
And we should remember that Andre Lotterer spent a lot of his time, a lot of his career in Japan.
Absolutely.
Many people have made their careers in Japan.
Jeff Lees.
Yes.
Well, in fact, another one in the historic race today, Anthony Reid, former Japanese Formula 3 champion, spent a lot of time in Japan, and it's a... Oh, dear.
Ralph Furman.
Ralph Furman.
Yep. In fact, we were talking to Mikael Krum at lunchtime on Thursday, and he was saying, I can't wait that they are sending Lucas Odoñez to a Super GT race in Suzuka in July. He said, I can't wait to take him there. He's going to love it. A GT300 car, 35 to 40 degrees cockpit temperatures. And Michael Krum was just smiling. He said, can't wait to take him there. Number 1 car's back out on track. What we need now is some indication as to what that might have been. I may have to go and have a look at the Twitter feed. Apparently it's getting brighter in Ireland.
Well, that's nice to know.
There's some definite lightness in the sky here as well. Dawn is coming up.
Yeah.
But it is so cloudy that it's nowhere like as light as it usually is. We have a yellow flag at post 76. Who have you been talking about, Martin?
Yes. Who have you been talking? We've got another yellow flag up, Martin. Now, what have you done now?
Not me. That's not my chicane. Post 76 is Mulsanne corner. It wasn't me. It's car 93.
It's in the gravel trap.
Well, that is one of our 2 Vipers, Jonathan Bomarito, Kuno Wittmer, and they are the 2 rookies in the car. So the SRT boys will hope that it comes back. Tommy Kendall, the 3rd driver in that car, who is in it.
Getting the front off the Porsche. And you recall a little bit earlier on,
oh, it's Tommy
Martin,
Kendall
you were
in the
telling
gravel.
us that the cooling and everything else was at the front of that car.
You can see the
damage.
Bar at the front has been bent as well. So there's a lot of rebuilding going on. I'm afraid their chances of a podium in class have been ruined by the driver of the number 39 car.
Yeah.
Well, apologies for that. We managed to drop into an advertising break just as the leader came in for regular service, but no major dramas there. So back out he goes. Just a clean screen and a full tank of super unleaded. And away goes Loic Duval in the number 2 Audi. Otherwise, undiminished in his attentions to the lead of this race.
He's a bit worried about the super unleaded that went in because it's diesel.
He might have a little bit of a problem halfway around the lap.
All right, super diesel pedants. Infamy, infamy. Reportedly a pedal adjustment for the number 1 car. Well, probably not a throttle pedal, I'm guessing. Daily Sports Car tweeting, Audi number 1 back in the box. DKR team take note. No mechanics were skittled in the making of this repair. Indeed, indeed. So, Audi number 1's official tweet says, Andre Lotterer brings the number 1 in full service. Benoit goes in the number 1. Yeah, and that bit where you stuck your hand down inside it, no official reply to that, I'm afraid. So.
Was it me, or did we see that Aston in fairly recent?
I think we saw that Aston in fairly recently.
I think he's made a bit of an unscheduled stop there.
I don't think he's a very happy man.
Which one?
The Aston Martin there.
Yes, which one?
We think it's number 98.
No.
I thought it was 98.
No, that's Fred Macko. That's the 99 car that was and is still in 2nd place in the GTE Pro class. Stefan Mucker has just left the pit lane. Now, he's in the Gulf coloured one.
Yes.
Macko is in the day to night today dark blue, light blue one, the art car. There are your class leaders.
Yep.
Number 2 Audi, number 35 Morgan Nissan, currently being driven by Martin Plowman, still in the lead of LMP2. And Loic Duval showing no sign at all of getting out of the number 2 Audi. Green, it's Porsche leading the GTE Pro class, Romain Dumas in that one. And the orange car, and again, Porsche leading in the GTE AM class. Of course, Aston Martin on the front of both those classes in qualifying, giving chase at the moment, but the best Aston in GTE AM is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th place, the Stuart Hall, Jamie Campbell-Walter Royal Goethe Golf car, which is the newest car in Royal Goethe's All Golf collection, by the way, the one that he himself is driving this year at Le Mans. And there is our art car in front of us, second in class. And the 92 Porsche would be... the class leader. Has he just put a lap on the Aston?
I think he has, yeah.
He has just put a lap on the second placed Aston.
Yeah.
Wow.
You see, he had it down the straight there, didn't he?
Oh, yeah.
And
wow.
with the dawn, we get the rain again. It's now raining outside our studio.
Now there is another, it is indeed, there is another Aston patently right in front. Which one is this? Green board, so that's another GTE. So that's Stefan Mucker in the 97 that had just come out of the pits. So the Porsche is steaming by both of the Astons that are also in podium positions. He has lapped second, or put a lap on, second and third in the GTE Pro class. This from a car that after qualifying looked frankly in quite a lot of trouble in terms of pace, and was not in the lead trio that was separated from the rest of the field by the original safety cars. So they have jumped from the peloton into the lead group and gone to the front, and it now seems put a lap on everybody else. Meanwhile, puncture for the SRT Motorsports car of Tommy Kendall. That is the SRT Viper GTSR. So he has got out of the gravel at Mulsanne with a flat. Now, generally speaking, being in a gravel trap doesn't give you a flat. However, the converse is true. Having a flat often does put you in the gravel trap.
Yes, and I would have said that Tommy Kendall was an unlikely visitor, normally an unlikely visitor to the gravel trap.
Yes. Ooh, lots of curb there for the Porsche. See how much drier it looks online, how much lighter it looks online. And also, as he headed towards our camera position here, how much lighter it looked outdoors. You're absolutely right. Dawn's roseate fingers are finally making their appearance. Service for Sebastian Buemi. Door open on the driver's side. Now, is that for drinky thingies? Or is Seb going to get out? No, I'm not sure that he is at the moment. We don't see any tyres out on the apron. We wouldn't necessarily have to. No, door shut. Swiss still inside. So Buemi stays in. 2 red lights, second in class. And the red lights mean that is the LMP1 class.
Following an Audi down pit road.
And that is Marc Gené, who is 4th in class. And they are followed in by the Jota car. So that has come in from, they are now 3rd. They are 3rd, yes, Lucas Luhr still 3rd in the LMP2 class. I'll tell you what, Sam Hignett's team, very small team from Kent, single car operation, really having a good time here. And Olivier Plas, second in LMP2, also on pit road. So second and third place in the class on pit road. Platt goes out. That's him in front with a little red, purple, what's the word I'm looking for? Pink, thank you. Highlights on his Oak Morgan roll hoops. And out behind him, what's that? 15 seconds, maybe 20, let's say, tops. For Lucas Luhr, still 3rd in class as by whistles a P1 Audi. And whistle is the right word for them, isn't it? Not wails or howls. Yeah. Have I mentioned car 97 recently? Because guess what, boys and girls? And guess where as well? It is the Stefan Mucker Aston Martin.
And Paul, 42,
yeah.
so...
Yep, 42, first chicane. Is it raining there also? Drizzling. But our window has dried up again now. Very briefly, it was spitting and spotting, and now it ain't. And this camera shows no sign of spits and spots, as in comes the second IMSA Matmut Porsche. Now, this is the sister car of our AM leader. That's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th place in class. Woo! Wolf Hensler stays in place as the camera gets shoved out of the way. And the AM class car of Stuart Hall, which is 2 cars in front of it and and only 40 odd seconds in front of it on the road. So this is not a direct battle for position. They're separated. Oh no, they're not separated. This is a battle for position. Hensler was behind Hall's Aston coming in. Who comes out first? Stay left, 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 stay there, stay there. Porsche ahead of Aston. Position change in the pit road. The Porsche has gone in front. And Wolf Hensler in front of... In fact, it looks like Julien Canal in the number 50 Chevrolet Corvette has got between them. In fact, he has. There he is, right between them. Now, did we see a driver change? It's now saying that Roald Goethe is at the wheel of that Gulf Aston. Wet and very wet tyres being kept by Michelin. I think those were all wets. Darrell O'Young, you saw him there, currently lying second in the GTE AM class.
Despite that spin when...
Despite me talking about him, yes. Thank you. Not going to live that down, and he's had such an unlucky season in World Touring Car Championship. I am starting to wonder.
So I think we'll have to have a chat with him over you.
Sam Bird has already tweeted earlier on, because of my unbelievable and long-running jinxing of him, that he will never come to Le Mans. Wisely so. Martin Brundle tweets, sensational job from Alex Brundle to pull the 24 Oak Nissan back into lead of LMP2 in very tough conditions. Very proud dad. Rightly so, Martin. Spot on.
While you're here, Martin, you set Neville and I a task yesterday morning.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
And I just happened to have...
Are you a day late and $1 short?
Well...
You're not quite, because it was in daylight hours yesterday morning.
Yes.
You've got 3 hours to get this answer out before you fall shy.
Well, I can do that courtesy of our old friend Quentin Spurring.
Go ahead.
Who writes, who's written a series of books, The Official History of Le Mans. And I just happened to have in the boot of my car the 1960 to 1969 version. And you asked us...
Well, this all started when I was tyre kicking in the historic paddock, and for the Legends race, and I saw this rather nice Austin Healey 3000, and because Jeremy Shaw, who I was with, is a bit of an Austin Healey owner, we went over to have a little mooch, and it had a board beside it with details about the car, when it was built, its heritage, who owned it, and so on, and all its race and rally entries.
This was DD 300, wasn't it?
And this was a 106, which is a one-off car, with a 3-litre nose, and it was essentially a big Healey that was built as a race and rally recce car, was then driven by the chairman, by which I assume it's Donald Healey, as his personal car, and then was pressed into servicing competition. Nice, neat service for the 99 Aston. It is in second place in the GTE Pro class. And the thing that really caught my attention was the 1961 Le Mans entry. It said 1961 Le Mans, black flagged at start.
Yes.
Well, and no further details. I thought, what on earth could you have done other than maybe run over the president of the ACO's toes on the way out of the pit lane that would cause you to be black flagged at the start? And Chris is looking through the book because he has the answer.
Well,
but we may not get time to get to it before the next break.
Well, then, if we don't,
we'll leave it as a cliffhanger.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So in a few moments, we will reveal.
All will be revealed.
What are we now? 52 years later, why this 1961 Austin Healey was black flagged at the start. Not failed to start, not banned from starting, not thrown out after qualifying or scrutineering, but black flagged at the start. It sounds to me almost like one of those where a Formula One driver who hadn't qualified sneaked out onto the back of the grid in the hope that nobody would notice, and nobody did for about 7 laps, and then he got black flagged. No names, no pack drills. Tommy Kendall back in the... Oh, no, that's Ryan Dalziel in the 53 SRT Viper, because the 93 car, Tommy Kendall has brought it in, and Kuno Wittmer is now at the wheel of that, having just gone back out. In is the number 50 Pro-Am GTE Am Labre Competition Viper, which I cannot find. Yes, I can now. He's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th in class. And the Viper heads off. These SRT guys desperate to try and make both these cars last the distance and run to the checkered flag on their first race at Le Mans. Welcome back to live coverage of Le Mans 2013 on Eurosport, where Loic Duval still leads in his Audi from the Toyotas of Sebastian Buemi and Alexander Wurz, who has just left the pit lane, which drops him down to 3rd place in class. In fact, he was 3rd place in class, ahead of Marc Gené's Audi. And just before the break, we recovered, or went back to the task I set Neville Hay and Chris Parsons yesterday morning in morning warm-up before the historic race, talking about an Austin Healey that was in the race, which was originally Donald Healey's private car, and then personal car, and was then used as a race car and rally recce car for the big Healeys. And what mystified me was that on its entry list of all the races and events it had done, 1961 Le Mans black flagged at start. That was the only line on it, no further explanation. And I was saying, what on earth could they have done that would cause them to be black flagged at the start? And Chris, you think you have the answer, and I think you probably do too.
Right. There were 2 Austin Healey 3000s in the 1961 race. And the second one was entered by Cambridge Racing, and it was a reserve, and it did no laps. So I guess they tried to get it to the start, and they were told, sorry, you're on the reserve list, you're black flagged, you can't start.
That sounds very likely.
Yeah.
So the other car is pictured in Quentin's book, but again, I'm afraid it didn't. It started the race, didn't finish, but it did do 254 laps.
Yeah, it did actually three Le Mans, that car, and it finished the last one, if I remember rightly, in about 11th place in 1962.
Yes.
Another interesting thing.
Don't tempt me to turn over the pages to the next year.
I won't tempt you, because you wouldn't find the answer for that in here. But talking of Healeys, I found out the other day that they actually made, I think it was 5600S Austin Healeys, of which there are 41 left.
Not a bad number.
Not a bad number, is it?
No, not a bad number.
Sorry, I was doing something else there. How many made, of which there? How many left?
41 out of 56.
I thought I'd misheard you the other way. There were 41 made, of which there are 56 left.
No, that was Jaguar.
That's much more likely to be the case.
Certain other cars. And who knows how many Porsche 962s there are.
Yes.
There were a lot of plastic ones in the end, weren't there?
There were a lot of plastic ones. I mean, it is one of the most hilariously funny things that if you can ever get involved in. Because, of course, one of the things that does happen, and there's no question about this, that the identification of old cars is spoiled by the fact that in those long past days when one was going from one country to another, one had to have what was known as a carnet. And on the Carnet, the numbers had to match. So certain cars were made with plates with their number on, and they could be swapped between one car and another, so that the name and the number on your Carnet was exactly the same as the particular 250F Maserati you had out that day. Very cool.
There were a lot of fun and games in those days.
A lot of fun and games. It wasn't funny, actually, having had quite a lot of equipment to come in and out of various countries. You could find yourself held up in customs for 1, 2, 3 hours while they messed around looking for the plate and the number on something or other and checking everything meticulously.
Oh, I remember when cars used to go in and out of Spain, it used to take days.
Well, this was one of the problems, and I do recall once being forced to miss a ferry by some officious gentleman, and the same gentleman was there when I came back, but this time he got properly scolded and sent into the corner. But it wasn't fun.
Well, change of driver here with Olivier Beretta strapping in Kamui Kobayashi into where are they? I'm losing count now. GT Pro Class, let's have a quick look at that, since this is one of those. Richard Leeds leads in the Porsche, so he's only just taken that over. Bruno Senna second in the 99 Aston Martin. Stefan Mucker third in the 97 Aston Martin. Fourth, Patrick Pilet in the Porsche, who's just left the pit lane. Fifth, Giancarlo Fisichella in the 51 Ferrari, who's just left the pit lane. And sixth in the class, the 71 Ferrari, which Olivier Beretta has just handed over to... Change, please, change. I'm afraid I didn't recognise the helmet. I'm not sure if that was Kamui Kobayashi or Tony Vilander. Tony Vilander it was. I should have recognised it wasn't Kobayashi's helmet, but I'm afraid don't pay an awful lot of attention to Formula One, so I didn't. So anyway, lots of very close battles going on in the GTE Pro Class, and we've only just got over 9 1/4 or under 9 1/4 hours to sort it out. So it's a little more than, you know, a 1,500 kilometre race.
Maybe 5 Grand Prix.
Yeah.
5 or 6 anyway.
Well, the 1,000 kilometres is sort of getting on for a 6-hour race, isn't it? So we've got a 1,000 kilometre race and a 500 kilometre race.
Yeah.
There's quite a lot still to go. Or 2 hours 45 in American Le Mans race. There's quite a few of those left in 9 hours, isn't there? Most of a season, in fact. Half a season at least.
There's still a bit of a sheen on the road, isn't there?
Yes.
You just look at it and think, well, I don't know whether that's completely dry. And indeed, it isn't right up against the pit wall there. You can see there is a line.
There's not much of a breeze. It's fairly still. There's a lot of cloud cover. It's been fairly humid all week, so it's not going to dry that fast.
And as you can see from those spectators, it's
they're not going to dry out in a hurry.
It's really quite chilly out. There's no question about that. When I came into the box a few hours ago now, it was really cold. In fact, I brought the thicker of my anoraks that I had put on when I went back again.
Yes.
I bet his legs are cold, sitting there, waving in the breeze.
Listen, made a little point earlier. I was saying Mikkel Krum was really looking forward to taking Lucas Ordonez to Japan to a searing hot Suzuka and sticking him in a GT300 car and seeing how he got on in 40-degree heat. Of course, that's 40 degrees outside.
Yes.
So substantially hotter inside.
Yes.
And on Twitter, Anthony Thomas saying, are you saying FIA GT3 cars are cooler inside than the GT300 cars? I'm saying absolutely they are here at Le Mans. GTE cars, Pro and Am class, must be cooler. They have a maximum cockpit temperature, which is monitored by the ACO and enforced by drive-throughs, so they have air conditioning. Slightly more cogent point there is, of course, that Lucas Ordonez drives open prototypes, so any kind of closed car is going to be considerably hotter than what he is used to. But Michael Krum was just basically looking forward to him wilting and flaking and feeling rather second-hand after the end of it. 51, the better of... Oh, 61, I beg your pardon, I can't read properly. We must give these eyes back to the dog. 61 in third place in the GT Pro class. Matt Griffin at the wheel of that car stays in, chasing Daryl O'Young. 13 seconds between them as he came down pit road, so there's a good battle on for second place behind Raymond Narak's Porsche. which leads in the GTE AM class.
It has been rather curious this year that Le Mans, having come a good deal later than it often is, we've had such, shall we say, spiteful weather.
Well, blimmin',
so cold.
It's a week later.
Yeah.
And apparently last weekend the weather was absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah. Well, you know, when do you not go on holiday and
Exactly.
say, oh, you should have been here last week? Thank you. Of course, if we had been here last week, not only would we have had gorgeous weather, but on Thursday I'd have been at Bruce Springsteen instead of here watching qualifying. Tough call to make.
Very tough, indeed, yeah.
Because I booked my Springsteen tickets long before the ACO decided they'd slide the race another week further back into the month. Wretches. However, there we go. Out comes Matt Griffin then, and out behind him comes the number 70 Corvette. And I'm going temporarily screen blind. I can't see that on my AM
What,
class.
number 70 Corvette? Well, that's, it's a very long way back.
Which means I'm going to have to flick a
You're
screen.
going to have to flick a switch.
I am going to have to flick a screen.
Yeah, this is the car that had a big
that's the
problem. It had a fire. It had all sorts of strange things. It went off into the kitty litter. You name it, it happened.
And it is currently the last running car in 49th place.
There you are.
Talking of fire at Neville, Loic Duval's on fire as well. His last lap was a 29.9.
Yeah.
I think the one before that was 26. So he's really stepping on it, and he's going away from the Toyotas again.
Yeah, I wonder whether or not it is known, it has happened, that the Audis sometimes perform a major service, don't they, at around about, I don't know, 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, where they check everything out and have a go again.
Only as strictly necessary. I mean,
only if strictly necessary.
Everything has been constantly checked by In fact, I was talking to one of the teams about telemetry and radios, because I mean, habitually radios were always a bit of a curse. You'd sort of lose people at the first chicane and get them back at the Porsche curves, and in between there was lots of static. And I was saying, you know, do you get the telemetry all in one burst as he comes past the line, or is it actually a continuous flow? He said, no, pretty much a continuous flow. You lose them for a few seconds around Mulsanne, because that's the furthest point from the pits. But other than that, radios generally good all the way around, and telemetry now real time all the way around. So they can tell a driver instantly if they see a tyre warning light come on, or an oil warning light or something come on their bank of data monitors. They can warn him instantly, probably long before he knows that something's going wrong.
The HRG, and there's supposed to be one running, actually in a historic race. They were the first team to try radio here at Le Mans, and one of the drivers, incidentally, was a man called Robin Richards, who was a well-known BBC commentator with an outside sense of humour that made him one of the most fantastic people to work with. You'd never stop laughing if you worked with Robin Richards. He was a very funny man.
Raymond Narak in for service. This is the leader in GTE AM, although there do seem to be rather more than one light illuminate on the side of his car, which means, have Darrell Young and Matt Griffin gone by him as Narak stopped? Has he lost the lead and dropped to third in class? All will be revealed after this break.